Hey, how's it going, guys? Kaptain Kuba here, and welcome to the official return of what I like to call the members hangout. This is something I haven't done in a while because I don't know, I guess I just didn't come up with a video for you guys to watch of me. And even now, like, it's just me reacting to a video. But apparently, like, me reacting to Under the Mayo is like one of the things a lot of you just want me to see. So I decided to finally do it, and you know, if you're a member, you can just come in the chat and just talk, just shoot the shit. Now, I do have a disclaimer that I have a disclaimer. I have seen this video before. When he uploaded it, I reacted to it by myself. I didn't stream it. I just recorded my reaction to it, and I was supposed to upload it, but I guess I didn't name my file properly, and I lost it somewhere. Okay, and enough time has passed for me to, I don't know, do another honest reaction of it, because I remember some things he said, but not everything, so I thought it was a good time. I realize now that I should have made an announcement about this. I don't see any members in the chat, but it's all good. I'll wait a little bit more. Oh, there you go. Imonar, how you doing, man? And then we got Damon Salvatore. I think you changed your name. I always say that because I noticed the little badge. It's like, he's been here for a while, but I don't remember Damon Salvatore. In any case, welcome back, dude. So yeah. Yo, Mayo, I gotta say, man, 182 views. That's pretty good, man. Now, the other thing I have to say is that I know people like the idea of, like, rivalry, you know, Kaptain Kuba versus Under the Mayo thing. And at first, when I saw Mayo's video, I was kind of like that, right? And if I'm being honest, I think it was because I don't think his first review was the greatest. And he's even said that in the podcast I did with him a while back. He's like, yeah, it was my first video. I wasn't really sure how to do stuff. But once I got to talk to him, I kind of understood Mayo a lot more. And it turns out that we do have a lot of similarities in what we like about games, and I don't know about stories, but games, like mechanics and all that. So I'm curious to see what he has to say. Again, I've watched this before, but I don't really remember. I don't really remember much of it. So I guess let's just go. Hey, Christian, Christian, how you doing, man? Let me know if the audio's okay, by the way.
In April of 2019, I released what is now the most infamous negative review of the God of War reboot, and the following year I expanded on it with a second part focusing on specific issues and what I believe to be the motive behind certain creative changes. The lead up to God of War Ragnarok on my end has been a constant stream of people asking if I expect to hate it or if I think it's going to be better. How could I possibly make a follow-up?
Turn the video's volume on, Kuba? Like it's not on? What are you talking about? Hold on.
That lives up to that original video
like
in
more?
Just a few weeks when that video took me
Is
a
it better
year.
now? Do I have to start over? I guess I'll start over. Oh, he retracted the comment. We might as well start over. I'll only talk when I stop the video because I know I have a tendency to just record the desktop audio like really low. So I'm sorry. It's good.
In April of 2019, I released what is now the most infamous negative review of the God of War reboot, and the following year I expanded on it with a second part focusing on specific issues and what I believe to be the motive behind certain creative changes. The lead up to God of War Ragnarok on my end has been a constant stream of people asking if I expect to hate it or if I think it's going to be better. How could I possibly make a follow-up that lives up to that original video in just a few weeks when that video took me a year?
Even Mayo's video was anticipated. It wasn't just God of War Ragnarok. His whole community was just anticipating his review of God of War Ragnarok. I thought it was funny.
Well, all I can do is try. This is how God of War Ragnarok was ruined. While my initial trailer reaction certainly skewed towards the negative side, as I was disappointed to see that not much had changed, I have honestly been excited for the release of Ragnarok. I stayed away from any other previews. I only heard bits here and there about changes made to the combat system. They were touting the new verticality the game offers. There was supposed to be more enemy variation. So before I start talking about what this game does right and wrong, I want to say that I'm not going to be repeating too much of what I've already said. I will get into certain familiar territory with things like the camera, but I'm not here to complain endlessly that you can't jump. Yes, I still hold the same view that no aerial combat options ends up limiting the game significantly. Yes, it's still awkward to see areas you should be able to jump to, but you can't. Yes, I still think this game's combat would be far more interesting with a resource management system like the originals, where you have to find magic instead of it being on a cooldown. I am also not going to talk about how this game doesn't have a combo meter, because the problem was never that there wasn't a combo meter. The problem was the lack of any effective system at all to encourage experimentation, the way an XP rewarding combo meter can. Now there is a good system, it just isn't a combo meter, and we'll get into that soon. Ragnarok has been the most mixed and inconsistent gaming experience I've ever had. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, the amazing, and the terrible. Perhaps we had better start from the beginning.
Kaptain Kuba's reacting to his soulmate. I laugh about that because I think it was after God of War Ragnarok came out. I think I tweeted something and someone called me Captain Mayo, and I thought it was funny because it's, again, the internet is kind of a hard place to just be a calm and reasonable person. There's a lot of things I don't agree with Mayo, but there's also a few things I do agree with him, right? But yeah, I guess Mayo's my soulmate, my YouTuber soulmate.
I picked the second. What was that? Better start from the beginning. The amazing and the terrible. Perhaps we had better start from the beginning.
Why did he laugh? What was that? Is that a reference I'm not getting? I don't know. I just finished Laser's critique, and now this. Let's go, Damon. Let's go, man.
I picked the second highest difficulty, Give Me No Mercy, because I wanted a very challenging combat experience. But I wasn't fully prepared for pure suffering on the very highest difficulty because I knew this was already going to be a very long game. And after I finish it, I can replay it on the highest difficulty, better understanding the combat. We start the game, and the first 10 minutes is a bunch of cutscenes and a driving section with button prompt QTEs as Freya comes for her revenge. It's fine. I was expecting this. It's nice that you can actually fail these QTEs and die if you're not paying attention. Ooh. I took that as a good sign, and at least we aren't slowly dragging our feet as we carry a log this time.
I don't know if he did it for all of the other kills or kill animations, but I should do that. That's something I used to do with the older games. I would just go and replay them again and make sure to fail all of the QTEs to see what the animation would be. I don't remember knowing about this, Kratos being pulled from the thing. That's a cool detail.
Unfortunately, the rest of this sequence is completely fake. You can steer the sled, but it's unnecessary. You can just keep your hand off the controller and the sled auto steers for you. Coming off the sled, I noticed an immediate improvement. Roll the clip.
Can I swing this axe on my back? No. Wouldn't want to let the player break the immersion of this walking scene.
All right, time to test it.
I'm sure he's going to talk about it, but that is something that Ragnarok truly did better. The intro of the game, in my opinion, was so much better. He's going to talk about how you can swing the axe and the blades from the very beginning. Yeah, I like that, and I think it even lets you run. God of War 2018 didn't let you run until you beat the troll, I'm pretty sure. It's brutal replaying the intro of God of War 2018. It's just... This one, at least, is much more...
Off the sled, take control of Kratos, and wow, would you look at that. I'm actually allowed to press buttons and see what they do. This was a criticism very specific to my video, and this change is something else I saw as a good sign. They're not forcing me to walk around unable to see what my character can do until they say so. There's no...
It didn't bother you? Well, it didn't bother you... Well, I don't know. I don't know about your own experience, but... I'm sure it didn't bother you on your first playthrough, and it didn't for me either, because I was just taking in the whole experience, right? But, I don't know, is it the same? Do you still like it on a third playthrough? I don't know.
No enemies here, but it doesn't matter. I want to see what the buttons do, and they let me, so thank you. The moment I was able to experiment with my combat options, I lit up with optimism. One of my principal criticisms with God of War 2018 is that you are so limited with what you can do in the starting hours that it makes combat feel really one-dimensional, especially when you compare it to the originals, which we're going to do right now. Just looking at God of War 1, in the first level you have light attack and heavy attack with 3 different combo enders, block and roll, an air launcher with an air boost follow-up allowing for focused combo damage in the air, an air grab for extended juggles, a ground to air grab for bouncing enemies, and 3 different grab options that gave you fast kills or throwing enemies around to control space. It wasn't an overwhelming amount of options, it was the perfect amount to experiment with as we're learning the game. God of War 2018 stripped away so many of these options without replacing them in the early game, so on your first playthrough all you had were light and heavy attack, axe throw, fists, parry, and dodge. It was all so basic, it was hard to get excited about. It led to an absurdly boring troll fight and an almost equally uninteresting boss fight with Brody or whatever his name is. Just hacking away and dodging, no other options. And once you did accumulate some more interest...
I don't get it. As opposed to what? Even in the Thor fight, I don't know if he's going to talk about it, but even in the Thor one, it's just attacking and dodging. Like, I don't know what he would have wanted more from the... Because I get his criticism of the dragon in 2018. Like, he's like, you're just hacking at its toes. I get that. But I don't know what he wanted from Baldur. You know, he's not going to turn into a giant or anything, right? I don't know what he was expecting from an intro fight. I don't know.
Interesting combat options as you're making your way up the mountain, the game was already well on its way to becoming broken due to how badly balanced the RPG mechanics were, in combination with a ridiculous amount of runic attack spam and busted Atreus electric arrows. Ragnarok, on the other hand, has completely remedied this. Right away, you have access to an axe ability that charges up a heavy freeze attack by holding triangle, applying frost, and we have sprinting attacks. It's amazing how much of a difference this makes in getting started. In just 1 hour, you get the blades. You have access to 2...
I've heard, it might have been Laser's review, or someone else's, I don't remember. But I heard the argument that games like just like single player games should just stop depowering you at the beginning and just add on more skills. What do you guys think about that? Is that something you guys would want? I just don't see it working, because how much powerful is he going to get unless you debuff the skills you got in the previous game, right? To me, it makes sense to just take away all of your powers, but is there another option you guys see? I don't know.
2 blade grapple attacks that bring enemies into you and auto launches into the air, or charges them with an explosive from far away. The blades can be spun around vertically by mashing triangle for combo juggles, or for swiping attacks or splash damage attacks. This went on to be my favorite attack, due to its ability to interrupt enemy animations and apply burn damage. They definitely want you to use this because they have an area that specifically tells you about it, and it can be significantly upgraded. As soon as you start upgrading skills, you have enough XP to unlock the ability to do extra damage against enemies with elemental effects, further utilizing the new elemental abilities using triangle, encouraging weapon variation, and you can unlock the God of War 3 Hyperion grapple attack that brings you to the enemies, providing a great mobility option.
I'll be honest, he's talking about the triangle abilities thing. I found myself not using the one on the axe as much as I did the blades. And I think it's because it has that recharge time where you have to hold down triangle and it takes a while for it to work. I found there was more risk in doing that than an actual reward, right? But with the blades, I'm kind of with him that I use the blades a lot more.
Just like triple the combat option.
Yeah, what they should do is keep the upgrades but make them enemies stronger as the enemy goes on. Yeah, but what about for newcomers though? How would they make him... So it's just gonna get increasingly hard as the series goes on? Hey Luke, how's it going, man?
Right in the first hour and a half of the game, and I started thinking, wow, some of my biggest problems in 2018 have already been addressed. This is great, this is enjoyable, and maybe I'm just imagining it, but it feels like enemies are hanging in the air a bit longer for combo opportunities. We are quickly introduced to the new vertical combat option, Death from Above, where if you run off a ledge and attack in the air, you come crashing down on the enemies below. It's nice, I appreciate the inclusion, and I appreciate the more vertical design of some of the combat spaces, with ledges you can climb up and points to swing from. It's a noble effort at making combat encounters more interesting, but I gotta be honest and say I don't think it adds much to the gameplay. There aren't many fight spaces with these vertical levels, and it basically comes down to fighting on level 1 or going up and fighting on level 2. It's the same thing.
I kind of see where he's going. Like, I love those, the mechanic of where you just hit R1 in the air and then, like, come down slamming on it. And I love those arenas. Like, I had the most fun, like, out of the 2 new God of War games, 2018 and this one, that is, like, one of my favorite things to do. But there just weren't enough of those arenas to add variety to combat. I get what he's saying. So Monica was talking a lot about verticality, but I didn't see a lot in the game. There were some arenas, and I just wish there were more. This is not really a complaint. They did something amazing. I just wish there was more of it in the game, right? Lee Yankee King, thank you so much for the super chat. I'm replaying God of War 2018 and playing God of War Ragnarok because I finally got a PS5, and the Calliope and demo sections seem so forced and non-organic, and my thought on most of the story is forced and non-organic. I kind of feel like that as well. And I just want to say, even if he gives me a super chat and I disagreed, I would tell him. I don't care. I've done this in the past, but yeah, I've seen a lot of people say that they like the Calliope when he's talking about Calliope and all that. I think the reason why it feels forced is because they didn't give enough time for Freya to turn over to the good side. You know, it happened too quickly, and I think that's where the issue comes in. But I kind of felt that with that area. So with the whole story, I don't know. Like some areas did kind of feel forced, but for the most part, I thought, Kratos and Atreus' arc was really well done. But thank you for the super chat. Death and Above and Grapple is so good. I don't know why he says it doesn't add much. I think he says it doesn't add much because there's not that many. I think he said, I can go back, but he said, like, there's not that many areas where you can experiment with these abilities. I think that's what he said, right? He isn't that wrong. Why does Kratos want to badly tell Freya Calliope's story? Yeah. When the game came out, I stayed quiet on a couple of things because I was like, maybe I'm just not getting it. But I also got there, like, why is Kratos talking so much in this game? Like, I don't really. It felt off a little bit.
Jumping option, attempts at verticality are pretty underwhelming. It's fake verticality, and it doesn't do much for me other than remind me of how much better the combat would be if I could jump. And if I could see. The camera is still just the worst. The video here doesn't really communicate how it feels to play this game, so let's bring it in a bit. A little more, there. That's how it feels to play modern God of War games. Uncomfortable. In a game where enemies are frequently running to your side and behind you, you're steering yourself like a tank and directing your attacks like you're playing a third-person shooter. It's just the worst. It makes so much of the game, combat and exploration, feel so claustrophobic. And it's made infinitely worse by the fact that Kratos can't attack in any direction other than right in front of him. Many viewers of my channel will be familiar with my dislike of melee action where you have to control the camera. But it is far more tolerable in a hack-and-slash game like Bayonetta or Devil May Cry or a brawler like Sifu, where yes, you have to move the camera, but you can also move your character in any direction. If an enemy is to your left, just attack to your left. If an enemy is behind you, do a backwards attack. You don't have to reposition the camera. Ghost of Tsushima did this just fine. Why can't God of War? Here you have to turn the camera towards whoever you're fighting, and it's just as tedious as it was in 2018, if not more so because of some of the new enemies. While I do like their design,
this is a topic that I find it's hard for me to talk about because I really do see where he's coming from. Like when there's like more than 5 enemies, yeah, it can get a little bit chaotic on behind you because you really don't know what those enemies are doing, right? But I don't know, when you're fighting around 3 enemies, it can be fun because it's a different type of fun in the sense that Kratos can be hitting the light elf in front of him, and there's another one next to him, right? And you as the player, you're attacking, you're pressing R1, and Kratos is just attacking, but you, the player, are watching the other one, right? And it's like, it sticks to one, but like you have to keep paying attention to the other, right? And it's like, it adds more complexity in some areas, right? And I like that, because then when you see him attack, you dodge, and then like, I don't know, sometimes it feels really immersive, sometimes it can be problematic, but yeah. Anyone else like the new camera? I live using the quick turn and trying to double dodge someone without looking. Feels so cool. It takes practice though. I never use a quick turn. It's just something I never even used in 2018. Like you, I just kind of roll out. Like that's I feel like that's the best tactic to survive in the game.
They tend to run all over the place and zoom past you. You have to rely even more on the terrible indicator system to react to colored arrows for enemies off screen. It creates a state of paranoia when you're trying to kill an enemy, but you've got arrows telling you that something is coming, but you have no way of knowing what it is or exactly when it's gonna hit, or if it's an unblockable attack. So you just gotta stop what you're doing and reposition yourself just to see. It's so tedious and it ruins a lot of the combat momentum. When you're fighting a couple enemies that are in your view, things can work pretty well. You can focus on the damage you're doing while being ready to react to any incoming attack, to dodge, parry, or interrupt. That's when combat feels the best, but you can still end up struggling to target who you want when the enemies start moving about. And the problem isn't that it's mechanically hard to focus on one enemy, it's that so many enemies will surround you and attack you from behind.
Why are
so
you
the
locked
combat
on?
becomes about managing.
I honestly think part of his issue is that he's locked on, because I don't think you can turn the camera when you're locked on, right? Much like quick turn, like the lock on is just something I don't use. And Corey Barlog knew that there were gonna be some God of War fans that were like me, because he's like, you gotta give the player the option to turn it off, because it's true. The moment I see that little dot on the enemies, I'm like, what am I playing, Dark Souls? And I'm noticing now that he's locked on. Maybe he's having a lot more issue. Maybe he can't do that thing where he turns the camera. The thing I was talking about, I don't know. I would have to like play it and, I don't know, pay more attention to it. But yeah. The combat really helps you multitask with more enemies on the screen. Yeah, I mean, Atreus is there to help you. There's ways that you can manage. Mayo talks a lot about, I don't know if he's going to bring this up, but he talks about a lot about crowd control and, you know, like how do you, what do you call it? A management system? I forget what it was like. But yeah, like with this game, you have Atreus that helps you. You know, like he kind of divides the battlefield. Like the people who are behind you, like he goes and attacks them, and in this case, Freya too. And you also have other abilities that can help you. Like you have runic attacks where you're like, okay, I'm going to put this runic attack here and I'm going to attack this guy. And you, with the axe as well, you can freeze certain enemies that are lower, and you can go and fight another one. So the game does give you tools to overcome this hurdle. And when you succeed at doing them, it can feel really good, because if you feel smart. You're like, I'm just gonna freeze this guy, and I'm gonna go attack this one, right?
Your view more than feeling the.
It's not like Dark Souls. The lock-on in God of War is not good because it locks the entire camera. That's what I mean. I think that's his issue with not being able to see the other enemies. I think he's just locked on and he can't really turn around. But I don't know.
The energy of the fight.
I would have to ask
if you put yourself in the middle of the action, you're going to have to be flipping around to cover your ass. And there's a horrible bug where after you do specific animations, if you try to quick turn, the game will forget the block input and instead read the down input first, causing you to come out of your quick turn animation with your fists instead of your weapon.
Wait, what? That is bad.
Causing you to. The game will horrible bug where action, you're going to have to be flipping around to cover your ass. And there's a horrible bug where after you do specific animations, if you try to quick turn, the game will forget the block input and instead read the down input first, causing you to come out of your quick turn animation with your fists instead of your weapon. I bet I just cleared up something for a lot of players wondering why they suddenly weren't holding their weapon. You can test this yourself. Pick up something from the ground or run and do an axe drop and hold block as you're coming out of the animation and start tapping down to quick turn. You'll see that your weapon is gone after the quick turn finishes. Infuriating.
Oh yeah, because if you press down on the D-pad, it goes to your fist, right? So I think that's what's happening. Yeah, I didn't experience that because I don't do the quick turn, but I can see why that would be annoying. I'm surprised Tessie didn't talk about that in his video. I don't know. I would have to look at it too. I only lock on for Valkyries. It's helpful when they do the flying by you attack. I don't even do the Valkyries because with the Valkyries I got so used to all of their patterns that when they did that thing, when they just fly in front of you, I just kind of dodge. And even when they're behind me, like I don't even bother turning. I just dodge again. I'm able to time it. Maybe it's because I played it too many times, but I don't even use the lock on for them. Quick turn was really butchered in this game. I think Sesti said that. I don't remember the reasons he said in his video, but he also didn't like it. I think it was something to do with the it didn't slow down time a little bit. In 2018, when you quick turn, it kind of slows down time. It gives you enough time to react to whatever attack the enemy's doing. Daniel Kenny, a member for 33 months. I can't even do the math. How many years is that? Anhad licks my feet every Sunday afternoon. I knew it. He seems like that guy, man.
Watch here. Holding block during the end of the execution, Kratos starts pulling out his blades instead of blocking like I'm telling him to. Next, the down input causes him to pull out the spear, and then the game recognizes the block button I've been holding for the past 2 seconds and lets me quick turn, now with the wrong weapon. The controls just feel unresponsive sometimes, on top of the general clunkiness this game has. There were a lot of times where I hit the weapon switch button, but nothing happened. You also can't switch weapons while blocking. If you have the axe out and you're blocking, you have to let go of block and then switch weapons, when you really should just be able to come out of block with a different weapon. I guess because it's not realistic, but you can switch weapons while rolling, and that's not realistic, so what the fuck? You also can't run while switching weapons. If you're
I was testing it. I guess technically you block with this, and then technically you can't. You would be able to change your weapons. Yeah, that wouldn't be bad. That would be a nice addition.
You're running and you switch, Kratos stops running, which is just terrible and awkward.
We need to make a bigger deal about this, because I feel like we as a community focused only on Kratos kicking the chain and going down with it. But I want to say that this is even more annoying, like what he said there, like when you run and you want to switch weapons, he stops and then like he changes to the blades.
Realistic, so what the fuck? You also can't run while switching weapons. If you're running and you switch, Kratos stops running, which is just terrible and awkward.
I didn't experience any of the other things he's been complaining about, but this one I did. This one I felt it hard.
There's just a general lack of input buffering that makes things feel wrong. If you press the buttons to deactivate Spartan Rage during an animation, it doesn't cause Spartan Rage to stop once the attack finishes. You have to wait until Kratos stops moving, leaving you just standing there burning your meter for nothing. And the worst is when you throw your axe, but then you do a takedown animation and it shows Kratos with the axe. And then you go back to not having the axe, but you just saw yourself with the axe. So you try to do a magic attack, but it doesn't work because you haven't recalled the axe yet. The axe that you just saw in your hand, it's confusing.
Wait, what? Yeah, I think I experienced that too. Huh?
Axe, but you just saw yourself with the axe. So you try.
He throws the axe and
do a
press
magic
R3, and then automatically the animation requires for Kratos to have the axe.
It doesn't work because you haven't recalled the axe yet. The axe that you just saw in your hand.
And it goes back to fist.
It's confusing. Getting back to the camera, in a way I think they're aware of the camera issues because a lot of the game is actually focused on one-on-one boss fights, and that's where this game shines. The best part of God of War 2018 was the Valkyrie fights. Well, really only on New Game Plus, because in the regular game you could just runic spam them to death even on the highest difficulty. 2018 only had 3 bosses.
Oh, I don't know if you can rune expand them, but I had a hard time like even using all the frickin' runes. No, I actually like that because you can quickly switch to the blades. You like what? Like running and then stopping to change weapons? You like that? What are you talking about? Yeah, it would have been so much cooler if he switched while running. Yeah, it makes it much more smoother. I don't know. He can't take out your blades when blocking because he uses the left arm to grab the blades. Yeah, I mean, it's just confusing. I do get what he's saying. I don't know how they would fix it, though. I don't know if this is like a big complaint, but, you know. Anhad, member for 19 months. Thank you so much, man. Shit. Here we go again.
Boss fights in the campaign, and they mostly sucked. The first Brody fight sucked. The giant dragon was nothing more than throwing balls at him and hacking away at his toes. And the final...
Okay, look, Garm is better. But I don't think the dragon is that bad. He just complains about hacking at his toes. You kind of did that with Kronos a little bit, okay? You kind of ripped out one of his nails. And had with only 19 months. Get on Daniel's level, man.
Brody fight was okay, I guess.
Okay, why does he call him Brody? Is that like a Dragon Ball Z thing? Who's Brody? I think it's... That's not it. Dragon Ball? No, that's Broly. I don't know who Brody is. He just calls Baldur that? I don't know. I'm gonna have to ask him. Jesus, man. Sean Glyden comes in with a feed message. I'm not even gonna read that, man.
The trolls were everywhere, the first one sucked, and the rest of them sucked too. They know this, that's why there's an awesome joke troll appearance where Kratos just immediately kills it, sending a clear message to fans that they know the trolls sucked and they won't be appearing in this game, except for a few appearances later in side missions, and that's fine. By that time they die super fast. It's nice to see Santa Monica have a sense of humor about their game's faults. This time around, the number of boss fights in the main campaign of Ragnarok is truly impressive. There must have been, 10, maybe more? Plus dozens of optional fights. And now that you've got the spear, you have more ways to engage in combat. I don't enjoy the spear that much as a normal weapon, but I like the runic attacks.
What? He didn't like the spear? Dude. The spear for me is... I debated like whether it's like one of the best weapons in the series. Like that siphon ability... He talks about incentive a lot. The spear has a siphon ability where you just... And if you're fighting a fire Draugr, like, you get his fire, and then you can throw it at other enemies and they explode with fire. Same with, what is it called? Damn it, Bifrost. Like, it's so cool, and I don't know, I like that idea of, like, beating the door down. It feels good to use the spear. I don't know what he's talking about. I know, right? Look, right? The spear is the best.
Boss flies away from me, I chase...
And Ortex says, the spear's gotta be my favorite weapon. It's so fun. I know, it's super fun, dude. He's right. The runic attacks are really fun as well, especially that one he showed where he throws it in there, a bunch of spears come down. Like, that's straight up Ghost of Sparta. But I don't know what he means by he doesn't like this spear as a regular. I thought it was amazing. I felt guilty, actually. When I got this spear, I was like, I know I should be using the Leviathan Axe and the iconic Blades of Chaos, but the spear just feels so much good to play. It just... Because lore-wise, it doesn't have the same level of importance as the other ones, right? But it just felt so good.
Chase his ass down with the spear, and it's so satisfying. Boss fights are awesome because you finally don't have to worry about enemies attacking you from off-screen, and you can just focus on fighting an interesting opponent. In Ragnarok, it isn't 10 minutes before you fight a boss, the bear, and it's cool. It shows off the defensive mechanics of the game really well, way better than 2018's introductory troll. And after the next cutscenes, we get to battle Thor. They're really opening the game strong. It's like how God of War 3 had you taking on Poseidon as your first enemy. Combat feels better, camera problems are minimal for a while due to the multiple one-on-one boss fights, and we've already met both Odin and Thor. We meet up with Mimir, and I love that he's just living in Kratos' cabin now. I guess he just sits on the table all day. We're treated to a dream sequence where we see Kratos' wife like we should have in the first game. I never cared about the mission to spread his dead wife's ashes because we never got to see her or see how Kratos feels about her. Now we do. Too bad I find her quite unlikable.
Okay.
She reminds me of this person who I strongly dislike. She even has a moment of dialogue that's exactly like this character. But I really like the...
Which one? I would like to see it. I heavily disagree with his take on Faye. I honestly liked Faye a lot more as a mystery. When I saw her in Ragnarok, it's like the appeal of the character just went away. And I think I kind of agree with him. It's like, I just didn't like her as a character. She sounded too modern. I don't know. I wish, if that was Faye's introduction, I wish it would have been different. It just felt very... I don't know. The spear signifies Kratos' new leadership. I love it. No, it does have importance in the lore. I'm just saying, like, the other ones have a lot more history, right? Maybe the axe not as much, because you only get the backstory. But the blades, obviously, they do. He seems very biased on big fights and dislikes anything else. He seems very biased on big fights and dislikes everything else. I don't know about that. I don't know. The only thing about Faye that bothers me is that I knew who she was all along without knowing who she was. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I like the fact, I could kind of relate to Kratos and Atreus' goals, you know, of like, spread Faye's ashes, because I can kind of relate to if I had lost a mother. I get, like, in storytelling, you gotta, especially in video games, you gotta show these characters if you really want to make a connection with them. But it's just something that didn't bother me. It was just like, oh, this is like how the story begins, and that's it, you know. really actually like Faye. She seems sweet and wise with Kratos. I want to see... I don't know, maybe it's because I didn't see her in, like, a more dangerous situation. She just seemed... I don't know. To me, it felt underwhelming. And a lot of the things in this game, I can't put them into words, right? But it just felt like all of the mystery surrounding that character just... poof. It just vanished, right? If anything, I would have liked it a lot more if Faye was shown only once. Not at the... She was shown 3 times, right? The beginning, the middle, and then at the end. I honestly wish it would have been at the end. Imagine if you go through the whole game, right? And then you tell that story to Atreus, and it's super sad. And it's like, the man got tired of carrying logs. And Atreus falls asleep. And then Kratos is like, I'm going to go to sleep now. And then that's when Kratos starts to sink down. And it's like, Faye, like, oh my god, it's Faye. Like, I feel like that would have been a lot more impactful, right? But because you saw her many times and kind of said something vaguely, it's like, okay, thanks. Faye was even flirting with Kratos. How is that even possible? They were
the portrayal
married.
of Odin and Thor. They feel very authentic to this world. I like seeing Thor as a large drinking Viking, and I particularly like seeing Odin as just a normal guy. He's not some commanding presence, he's just the guy in charge. A normal old man who has authority and cares only about his control. I'm no expert on Norse mythology. I'm sure there have been many interpretations of these characters. If anyone is upset by this interpretation, I'm not saying you're wrong, but after all the years of only seeing the Marvel versions, this was refreshing. And then we start the central conflict of God of War Ragnarok. Atreus is searching for Tyr because he wants to know more about the giants and his destiny as Loki, and Odin wants him to stop. Kratos says no, Odin goes on to manipulate them both, and that's about it. This is Atreus' story, and the story of everyone else. This game cares little for the character of Kratos, as he is relegated to being a man following his son's reckless ambitions. This is not Kratos' mission, so much like the last game, I found it very hard to care about what's happening. Not liking Atreus certainly didn't help. In the first cutscene, Atreus is already yelling at us. It's incredible that they start this game with Atreus whining. And it's not about the dialogue. I understand they have to set up character conflict. It's about the delivery. Atreus' issues could have been delivered in a much more conversational, non-shrill, non-bitchy way. But the way they write this character is abrasive and annoying. Now look, Atreus isn't as bad as he was in the first game, because he's not a whiny 8-year-old brat. He's a little older now, his voice isn't as irritating. I tolerate him more this time around. I wish they had made him older, like early 20s. Yes, I'm aware that Fimbulwinter only lasts a few years, but you may recall that this is a series that plays with the concept of time. Kratos opened portals in God of War 2 that took him to the past. Just in the last game, he entered a portal in Alfheim where he experienced time differently than Atreus. If Santa Monica really wanted to, they could have easily found a way to age up Atreus by having him get lost in some time portal and pop out the other end in his 20s, and I really wish they had. By the way,
I gotta say, Mayo, I'm a little bit disappointed. I think wasn't I the one who gave him that idea? I think it was in the podcast I did with him. I was like, yeah, you can put him in the light of Alpha, and then he come out older. Why didn't you give me credit, man? I'm kind of disappointed in you. Nah, it's okay. What was he talking about, Atreus? Yeah, it's true that like the story like focuses more on Atreus, right? I do like Atreus more in this game. The character is more complex. I'll say that, right? Yeah, I'll say that. The character is more complex, and I like this whole thing that he has the goal to save his father. It's much more complex, and I like that. But I don't know about like the whole thing of like, yeah, maybe he could have, I don't know, started the story differently. I just don't see Atreus as bitching as he does. Like I always liked Atreus. I don't know. Kuba, you should watch Tyler 1's playthrough of Ragnarok. It's hilarious. Tyler 1, is that the guy, the bald guy who yells a lot and he's shirtless always or something? The Ironwood section almost made me feel asleep. I'm sure he's gonna get.
I refuse to believe that this part isn't a jab at my video.
Oh wait, what was I gonna say? I was gonna say I wonder if that's what I was gonna say. He talked about Atreus coming out of the light and being older, and as you guys know, I recently uploaded a video of the original story for the game, and that's kind of what happens. Kratos gets sent to the underworld. We don't know which one, and Atreus rescues him, and then a bunch of years have passed. And like many people said in the comments, it sounds cool because the whole time dilation thing would have been included in the story, but it wouldn't have felt good character-wise, because like you want to see Atreus evolve, you know, from a teen to an adult. And if they would have just skipped to his 20s, it just would have felt odd. Mayo just really hates Atreus. That's where all of this comes from.
In my original video, in the section where I talked about how much I hate Atreus, there's a part where I talk about his annoying way of speaking, and I show a montage of him saying whatever.
This kid even says whatever when he gets pissy.
Whatever, 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 whatever. It says, don't wake him. Whatever.
And then we have this part in Ragnarok.
Whatever.
Whatever. Whatever. Whatever. Whatever. Whatever. Whatever.
Hey, don't run off!
Whatever.
Can you tell me where I am?
Whatever.
It is a very clever way of taking a dig at me, I must admit. I'm sure some of the developers have seen my video by this point, and if they were going to respond in any way, this is a brilliant way to do it. I approve, I love it, I laughed really hard when it happened. I suppose it could be coincidence, but I doubt it.
I gotta say, if Santa Monica's watching this, and if it's true that Mayo influenced this part, I'm disappointed. I don't think I saw any of my influences there. You took the biggest God of War hater and you let it influence your game? I'm kind of sad. I feel bad for any future little... Wait. I feel bad for any of the future little under the Mayos. I'm sure he'll be fine. Hold on. The Ironwood section was... Well, I missed it. Hold on. The Ironwood section wasn't that bad. The more you play it, the shorter it becomes. I think the only part I didn't like about the Ironwood section was the yak. That's the only thing I didn't like. And the whole collecting fruits thing, that was boring. I thought they would have... I wish they would have found another way to get that exposition, right? But in a way, I had more fun with the Ironwood section because it's more focused. It reminds me more of God of War 2018. Like, there's not a lot of exploration. Like, you go from point A to point B, and like everything gets introduced at its own proper pace, you know? The whole like reveal of, you know, where Greil lives, like all of these, it's very well crafted, and that's because he's right. Like the story mostly focuses on Atreus. It's his story, right? Kratos doesn't really do much, at least until like halfway through.
Anyway, I still don't like this kid.
Hold on. Thank you, the Cave Spider Dude, for becoming a Spartan soldier. I appreciate it, man. Hey, I just bought a PS5 God of War Ragnarok bundle. So far, I've gotten back to Sindri's house with Tyr after rescuing him. You might not want to watch this video. He's this is a spoiler. You might want to get out of here. Thank you for the super chat, but don't ruin the game for you though.
I don't like walking around with him, and I don't like how much of the game is dedicated to him. I do enjoy the moments where Kratos expresses his feelings for him, but that's because I care about Kratos. Seeing him smile as he witnesses Atreus becoming independent put a smile on my face as well, and is one of my favorite moments in the entire series. I don't like his kid, but I feel for Kratos, and I am moved by the scenes where we see how much he loves his son. And some of my favorite story moments come from these interactions between Kratos and Atreus. But there's something off about his face, and the way he talks immediately spoils the mood of dramatic moments. Things that should be serious in tone are undermined by his nonchalant attitude.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, that's something that, like, at least the older God of War fans are really talking about now with this game. It's the tone. I've noticed that, and they're doing. I see what they're doing, right? All of the older gods, you put Tyr, you take Kratos, you take Freya. Maybe not all of them, but all of these gods like have a way of speaking that, for me, is God of War. They're like stern. They're not making jokes, right? But all of the new generation of gods / demigods, they're just modern day people, and I understand why. Like it's a new audience. They need to make these characters so they can relate to them, right? But I just don't like it, and I understand why they have to do it. If you want a rich story, you have to have a wide cast of characters, right? And you gotta have funny ones, you gotta have sad ones, you gotta have stern ones. But I don't know. I don't know how they would how they could fix it. I don't like. I hate to say it, but it's Marvel-esque. It's just like he said, hello. And it didn't bother me in 2018 because it was very little. And I'm like, okay, they're just gonna stop here. But they just kept going with it in this game. Like, guys, this is Ragnarok. Why are we making jokes? You know, it felt off. Too modern. There you go. Hold on. I've already seen people's playthroughs. I don't know. Oh, I think I don't care about spoilers. Oh well, I mean that's fair. I love Atreus. He just hates the kid. Sounds like a you problem, Mayo. Yeah, it really it really does sound that he doesn't really like the voice actor, Sonny Soljic. He just doesn't like how he portrays Atreus. And I mean, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. The MCU is a virus that infects everything, and Iman it's sad because this game was done. This game was created soon after 2018, obviously. Like in 2018, once the game came out, they started working on it, I'm pretty sure. And back then, the MCU was seen much more differently. People now are getting tired of the MCU. It's just, everything is jokey, and it's getting old. Like, I saw, like, the Quantumania reviews, and people are pissed about that. It's just, like, they're kind of wishing they would go to DC because they're more serious, and I feel that now. And it's sad because Ragnarok was kind of, Santa Monica was looking at the time, and at the time it was well regarded. By now it's like, maybe we don't like that. Is that and that's when the MCU was at its peak because of the Endgame and Infinity War. Yeah, it was at its peak, and it was exciting, right? But now it just feels old, and every character has been Tom Hollandized. That's gonna be a verb now. Tom Hollandized. Atreus is kind of Tom Holland at times, and so is Angrboda, and so is Spunky Thrude. It's just, why? Oh my God, Skolger. Every time I think about Skolger, I get angry. That's just a surfer, dude, and I have nothing against the voice actor. It's just the character.
I lost count of how many times I got absorbed by the story following these legitimately interesting characters when Atreus has to butt in and make some comment and ruin the whole scene. It's really frustrating because I like everyone else a lot, and I can easily imagine a God of War 2018 and Ragnarok where Atreus is not a part of any of this. Kratos could have just been a lonely man in the woods dealing with his demons when he comes across Freya after he wounds her pig during a hunt. And there we go. Atreus is searching for what it means.
And do what? What's the mission though? Because the whole thing that prompts the journey is spreading face ashes. How would he have the story though? He hunts the pig, and then what? I'm missing something here. Bro just hates Atreus. Initially, I thought, hold on, let me see. The skill just didn't fit at all. It felt so weird with him in the scenes. It just did, man. I don't know why people are complaining this game to Marvel. It's because it's in tone and hot, and maybe it's because you're younger and like you grew up with these movies and stuff. But I don't know. Us, the older people, like we're just getting tired of it. Atreus is literally 50% of the whole saga. This shows he doesn't know shit about the story. No, I honestly think what you said, he just does not like the character at all. You're 21? Well, I'm almost 30, okay? You're a much younger guy, okay? I'm 21. I didn't make this. I never thought you were 13 or 12. Don't worry. I wasn't treating you like a kid. I knew you were younger, just not exactly how younger. A lot of modern media is getting influenced by the MCU. It's true. It really is.
To be Loki, eventually going on to try to stop Ragnarok, and Kratos is just along for the ride. Isn't that a compelling narrative for our beloved main character? Toss in a few flashback scenes with his dead wife where they talk about how he's scared to have a baby, and I guess you have a story of some kind. The story depends entirely on Atreus, and unfortunately, he's the Jar Jar Binks of God of War. Early on, you can just tell that this little puñetas is going to be the cause of every fucking problem we encounter. And he is. Everything bad that happens because of him. He sneaks out at night to go on his own adventures, always disobeying orders. Everything he does is in service of himself, and everyone suffers because of it.
Oh, that's okay.
Hey, that sounds like Kratos' behavior in the old games, doesn't it? Yeah, but the difference is that when it's Kratos doing it, he's the main character, we are sympathetic to his story, he's actually likable and interesting, and his games have a fun, not-so-serious tone to them. Here, every moment following Atreus is boring and annoying, and it's telling that the most compelling moments of the story come from characters rightfully scolding him for his selfishness and his foolishness, for being the burden he is. It's glorious.
Well, I don't know if he got it though, but how I saw the story is that what's the Greek story? Is it Oedipus? Is that the story where the guy gets told the prophecy and then he goes and kills a person and then bangs his mom at the end or something like that? The point is, like, it's like when you tell someone the prophecy, they want to act on it so they can change it, and that's what Atreus is doing. Some of the options seem kind of out of place. Like him going to Odin just seemed odd to me because it's like, oh, Angerbodas is like, you're gonna be hanging out with Odin. He's like, no, I'm not. I'm gonna go see Odin. Like, that's the one that kind of was odd. But that's kind of the whole point. Like, he is the one messing it up because it's a story about prophecy and destiny and, you know, how acting upon prophecy leads to problems, right? That's kind of what I got. Hold on, I'm missing some comments here. Gaming 2, look at Suicide Squad, influenced by the MCU and Overwatch. I mean, Suicide Squad is mostly influenced by Fortnite. It's just fucking shit that game looks like. I was somewhat excited for it, but when they gave Captain Boomerang a gun, yeah, no. Atreus is a kid, bro. What the F was this? When I never a kid. He just doesn't like him. He just doesn't like him. Okay. I'm sure he's gonna get over the Atreus part soon. Kratos is banging Odin now? What are you talking? No, I said Oedipus, not Kratos. As a rebel, he's in that face. That's how humans work. Yeah, he's a teen. That's kind of how you expect him to work. But I do kind of relate to him that next time we see him, I hope more time has passed and he's much more grown up, like 20, 25 or something. That way they can kind of ditch the Marvel-esque tone, you know, and just get a little bit more serious, right?
I gave you everything. My skills.
That was a really good cutscene.
My friendship. My home. My secrets. My treasures. And you just kept taking. And now what have I got? We. There is no we. There's only you. No matter what the cost.
Whenever I get to doing a top 10 cutscenes of the series, it's gonna be really difficult for me because I'm kind of inclined to just put not all cutscenes, like most of the cutscenes are gonna be from 2018 and 2018 maybe too. But this one had a lot of really good cutscenes, like really good emotional ones, like that. The story when Kratos was telling the story of the men carrying the logs, that broke me, man. That was sad because I never saw Kratos like that. The endings, what was it? Loki will go. Atreus, fuck, man. And this moment as well, this is like really sad. Can Sindri beat Atreus 101? I don't think so. I honestly, well, maybe if how I kind of see Sindri now in the next game is he's gonna become this evil scientist type of thing where he's just gonna create like really cool. I'm expecting him to build a mech now, like a robot or something. That's what I'm expecting him to do. But in an actual physical fight, I don't think he beats Atreus. He might be like smarter, like he's one of the best blacksmiths in the entire God of War universe, right? I'm sure he has ways of bypassing Atreus' shape-shifting powers. It'd be interesting if he was a villain. You know what? It'd be interesting if he gets what Freya should have gotten in God of War Ragnarok. The whole Freya thing was resolved too quickly, right? I wish we get a game where Sindri is kind of the villain or one of the villains, and by the end of the game, like, he starts to come to our side, and then in the next one, he's like, all right, my bad. Something like that, right? That would be cool. Seeing someone as tough as Kratos be that emotional had me shed a few tears. That was balling, man. Like, that was... I don't even like watching that cutscene anymore, because, like, every time I watch it, I cry.
So what you can do is get the fuck out of my sight.
Oh yeah, that's good stuff. I could watch an hour of that. The campaign is constantly interrupted by Atreus sections because, oh yes, this time around, Santa Monica Studio has made it clearer than ever that what they really want to do is make the Atreus game. You take control of Atreus like 7 times, I think, and it's almost always bad. The first mission is kinda alright. It's interesting to see how this character moves and fights. The remarkable thing is that he plays much better than Kratos in this camera style. Because like I've said before, this camera style is made for shooters, not melee action games. This is how Resident Evil 4 is supposed to control, not God of War. Atreus is so agile and he has strong long-range options. It's like the game was made for him. The first time you fight with Atreus, it's actually liberating compared to how clunky and immobile Kratos is. I mean, he didn't used to be this way, but, you know, immersion, I guess. Atreus can shoot lots of arrows, inflict major stun, dive out of the way while shooting, knock enemies on the ground while in combo. He's pretty cool to control. That is, until you realize that almost all of the combat encounters with him are heavily tuned in his favor. He recovers a lot of health from just one pickup, he does a lot of damage, and most of the fights are just super tame. They're pushovers. I'm trying to figure out why they did this. Why make Atreus so powerful and brain dead most of the time? Are they trying to make us think he's really cool by making him kick so much ass easily? Most of the combat here is trivialized and it's boring. Playing one mission...
I mean, he said the combat's better than Kratos. I don't know about that. I mean, with Kratos you get all the cool weapons. I don't know. And yeah, Atreus has a lot of cool moves. The one thing I don't like is his rage. It just felt too stiff. And he praised the arrow shooting. I thought it was too slow. I didn't like it. It didn't feel as impactful as throwing the axe at someone. Like, that's cool. But the arrows just didn't... It felt too weak. I don't know. And he's right. Like, they did give him a buff. So... But still, it just felt like... It just got repetitive, right? But all of the other stuff, like he talked about, it's really... Atreus is really fun to play with. Yeah. Don't do drugs, kids. You'll end up like him. Oh... My heart's calling you out, man. Kuba, do you remember Harry Osborn's arc in Spider-Man 3? That's how it should have been. When? Let me see. Spider-Man 2. He finds out Spider-Man killed his dad. Yeah, and then in Spider-Man 3, for the whole movie, he's the villain. It doesn't get resolved halfway through like it happened with Freya. I agree. Yeah, like even though Spider-Man 3 is not the greatest movie, his arc was better than Freya's. That's what I'm saying. Bro would hate playing Final Fantasy and realizing it changes gameplay. I don't know anything about Final Fantasy. My wife tells me I should play. I think it's Final Fantasy X. I'll give it a try, but it's turn-based. Like, maybe I'll play the new one. The new one seems to be more hack and slashy. I don't know. Harry hates, I wonder if they'll tackle all the mythologies and cool ideas Kratos or Atreus in Polynesian, Hawaiian mythology, or Aztec mythology. The thing is, I don't really know how long the God of War series is going to go for, but Polynesian mythology they just seem kind of peaceful. I would have to, maybe I'm just talking out of ignorance. I would have to look into it, right? Maybe I'm just thinking of the Disney movie, Maui, what is it called? And I'm just thinking, oh, it's too childish. But no, maybe like they do have like some powerful gods. The Aztec though, the Aztec pantheon is one it's up there with Egypt, man. I don't really care too much about Japan or the Hindu pantheon. I mean, the Hindu pantheon is pretty cool too. But the Aztec, man, because the Aztec is the one that should force Santa Monica to bring back a darker tone. They're doing human sacrifices and kicking heads off the freaking stairs. Like, oh man, wow. That pantheon. Anyway, just make you realize something. This stream is already as long as the video.
Was okay. Sorry. I can do that.
This is how I like doing this. I like stopping and then talking for a bit. That's how I do things. I think just watching something like that's a boring reaction. I hope you guys like this style.
But Mission 2 is the worst part of the game. It is, in no exaggeration, an hour and a half of unskippable cutscenes, following dogs and talking to yourself, walking around and listening to a girl talk, skipping stones on the lake, occasionally fighting wimpy enemies that don't stand a chance, looking at paintings, carrying seeds, talking about paintings, walking, opening chests, talking, riding a bull slowly through the marshes, bad combat, talking, picking up apples, riding through the marshes some more, talking, running around, riding a bull, talking, fighting bugs in the dark, picking up more apples, walking around, talking, more bad combat, playing the most pathetic and uninteresting boss fight in the game, running through the fields as a dog in a part that plays itself for you since you don't even have to press the analog stick, and
True. That the whole part about, you know, running as a fox or as a wolf. True. There's no actual gameplay. But the music carries it. Other than that section, like, I kind of agree with him. Like, this is the God of War moment where Santa Monica jumped the shark. Like, that's a term in movie when they do something so out of place. Like, this is the moment in the God of War series where they jumped the shark. Not even God of War Ascension had it. Like, this is, I don't know what they were thinking, man. And I want to make sure that I say this. I don't even think this was Eric's idea. I think Mike Hu was the one who showed me, like a blackboard Cory Barlog had in the documentary, and in it said Ironwood. So even Cory was like, we're going to have Ironwood. I don't know if it would have looked the same, though. I don't know if it would have played the same. But the idea of Ironwood was in Cory's mind since the very beginning, I want to say. Ironwood is the worst section in gaming history. I don't know about that. It's just, like you said, it just kind of plays itself. You're just walking, like, you're just there for the ride. Like, you're not actually doing anything. I love the game, but this part, yeah, this part, man. Kuba's the best reactor. It's better reactor than SS Sniper Wolf. I don't know who that is, man. I'm sure he's awesome. Not gonna lie, I'm a big God of War defender, and even I don't like the Ironwood section. Look, at this point, I'm not even mad anymore, because we were loud enough about this issue that Santa Monica heard it. Like, I don't think we're ever gonna get another part of this. If we do, we go to war, boys.
listening to the most annoying sound ever recorded in human history. An hour and a half of this? You really think Atreus is so interesting that we're gonna be happy to put down everything and spend 90 minutes doing this shit?
Oh my God.
Fuck off, Santa Monica, fuck off! You know who you remind me of? These people. Their heads are so
I forgot about this part in the video. I almost just spit all over my keyboard, man. Mayo owes me a keyboard now. That's his fault. That was funny.
Fuck off, Santa Monica, fuck off! You know who you remind me of? These people. Their heads are so far up their own asses. It's the only explanation for this. It's the only explanation for the next Atreus section, where all you do is walk around Asgard listening to people talk for 15 minutes after pretending to climb the Asgard wall. Yes, pretending to climb. When I saw this wall and heard Atreus say he was going to climb it, I thought, no, there's no way they're going to make me fake platform up this giant-ass wall. But oh yes, yes they are. Acting like we're supposed to be impressed by this epic quest, which I'm sure plenty of people fell for. Oh wow, look how high I'm climbing. It's so dangerous to be doing this. But for me, it's more like they were openly laughing in the face of everyone who had an issue with the fake platforming and boring climbing sections of God of War 2018. They make you climb this massive wall, but you can't fall off. There's no way to grab the wrong section or lose your grip, or even voluntarily walk off the fucking edge, because this game refuses to allow any kind of consequence outside of direct combat and QTE moments.
This is I don't blame Santa Monica for this. I blame my second favorite series of all time, Uncharted. I think Uncharted was the first one that started this climbing trend. It's gotta go. It just has to go, man. I'm kind of with him on this now. After people have pointed, I'm like, oh my god, yeah, like I'm not really climbing. Like I'm looking to one section and just pressing X. This doesn't really feel. It doesn't feel good. Like you're just doing it. It's beautiful. It's got beautiful scenery, but you're not actually climbing, and it's gotta go, man. It really has to go. Anyway, Indigo, thank you so much for becoming a Spartan, man. I appreciate it. The wall climb was good. You liked it? I hear the criticism, but I would also get annoyed to fall off accidentally. I don't know, dude. Because even with the Hades section in God of War 1, we can say that those like spinning spikes are objectively bad. But I enjoy them more than this wall because it actually takes skill for you to get those to the top. And I kind of missed that. I missed it a little bit. But even God of War 2 and 3, like they did away with a lot of the platforming God of War 1 had started, and I think that was a mistake. This is like my biggest hot take. I like the Hades level. I thought it was good. It was difficult, but that's what made it fun. Maybe I'm not remembering my first playthrough, but I thought it was really good. It requires a lot of skill for you to get through it, and when I play it now, I can breeze through it. I still fail sometimes, but that's what's fun. It's just, it takes a lot of practice. Oh my gosh, I literally broke my controller on the Hades spikes in God of War 1. Yeah, they're not the most liked section. Even David Jaffe agrees that that area needed more time to be play tested. So, again, like, this is my biggest hot take. Like, I'm going even against the director of God of War 1. I like the Hades section. God of War 1 spikes were absolutely infuriating. I love them. Hey, Wilbur Montoya, welcome to the Spartan Soldiers, man. I appreciate it.
Even Uncharted, the game that
there you go.
arguably started all this cinematic gaming nonsense and easy as piss auto platforming trend, let you make mistakes and fall to your death. There's gotta be some kind of actual danger to platforming sections, or there's no reason for them to exist. And just to insult us a little more, they say, oh, are you getting bored with pretending to climb a wall? Here, shoot some bubbles. Isn't that fun? Now get back to climbing. The fact that you literally cannot fall completely destroys the illusion of danger and turns this entire section into a pointless series of holding directions on the controller and hitting circle when it says so. It is awful. It's the kind of moment that truly reflects the times we're in. Because 20 years ago, a moment like this would have been a 90-second cutscene, where we get some epic camera angles and dramatic music showing an exciting montage of Atreus scaling the wall.
He's right. That's what happens in God of War 1 when Kratos climbs on the back of Kronos. Like, he just jumps and then the camera zooms out and it shows you, wow, it's massive. And then like you cut to him arriving on the top. He's right. I hate it when he's right, man. I hate it. So, should we go into the load screen then? No, I mean, he's talking about in a perfect world, like I guess his argument is like, they need to get rid of the no-cut camera. I think he's going to say this now, actually. I think, again, I watched this like a while ago. I think he's going to talk about it. Like, the no-cut camera, it's got its pros and cons. Like, it's good for the story because it just focuses you in with Kratos and Atreus' arc. You know, like, the relationship, it's much better presented, right? But when it comes to gameplay, it does have its negatives, right? That is kind of true. There's no stake. It would be better if you had to make sure not to die. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I would purposely make Drake fall off just because it was hilarious hearing the voice. I like hearing Sully, Nate. It's kind of like Snake. I'm pretty sure like that's where they got it from.
Short, to the point, fun to watch. But we're in the age of cinematic gaming now, so every single moment of climbing and walking has to be some fake interactive sequence that's not only unskippable, but is dragged out due to playing out in real time since it isn't subject to editing. It's uninteresting to watch because there's no intentional camera direction, and it's immersion breaking because people can be talking about the most serious thing in the world while you're dicking around with the camera. This is why the unbroken single camera style of this game is an utter failure, because it leaves zero opportunity for editing, which murders the pacing, and far more than it did in the last game because there's just so much more of it. This game is incredibly long, which doesn't have to be a bad thing, but there's like 20 times the amount of unskippable cutscenes, and they're so long, and there's so much walking around and talking. And that's not the only thing that ruins the pacing of this game. They also ruin it intentionally by placing a traversal puzzle after what feels like every combat encounter. For the majority of the campaign, and even in many side missions, the game is terrified to give you more than one combat encounter. Large portions of the game are fighting 3 or 4 enemies and then spending the next 5 to 10 minutes walking, talking, climbing, watching cutscenes, and solving puzzles. And then maybe you get to fight another 3 or 4 enemies before going through the whole process again. It isn't until much later in the game that they finally start consistently delivering combat. Their world and story is so important that we have to take a break after almost every fight, no matter how basic and unsatisfying it may have been. Because the combat encounters are generally unsatisfying for significant chunks of the game, due to how infrequent they are and how frustrating the camera can be. Oh, and some people gave me crap for exaggerating the camera problems when you get close to the walls. Yeah, I don't think so. This stuff happens plenty, and it sucks every time.
I did. Jesus, Mayo. Why didn't he roll? I don't know. I never, for me, it was never that bad. Maybe it happened once or twice, especially in Vanaheim because of all the trees and crap. But I didn't, I don't know. I never had that bad of an issue with the camera. I don't know. Get good, says Camby. My favorite Elden Ring quote now. Oh, get good. Look, if you can't do puzzle quickly, that is your problem. I think what he's talking about is just the nature of the puzzles themselves. It's just, the puzzles are very simple. I really can't say that because I was stuck on half of them. But they feel very simplistic. It's like, oh, just hit the thing here and just go there. Like, just it's not like the garden puzzle in God of War 3, for example, that requires you to really think. And when you're in that area, you're like, okay, this is the puzzle area. Let me focus completely, right? It's like they want to add variety, so they give you these little like mini games / puzzles, right? I think that's what he's saying. I don't know, man. How are you defending him on this? On what, the puzzles? What, the camera? Which one? The puzzles, I got lost on a couple of them. Okay, well, let me tell you this. God of War 2 is the most incredibly infallible God of War game to date? What do you mean infallible? Like it can't make mistakes? That's what infallible means, doesn't it? Incapable of making mistakes or being wrong. So I think you used it wrong. I think you're fallible, Iman. I think you're fallible here. What are you talking about? God of War 2 is best. Yeah, little to no issue. Okay, I see what you're saying. Like it's the most perfect one. I mean, I kind of have to analyze God of War 2 through the eyes of a new player, which was my wife when she played him a while back. And I did notice that there were a lot of puzzles as well. But at least I liked him more than the puzzles in this one.
I'm not saying all the combat encounters are bad. Some fights are okay. Sometimes there's interactable objects to use against enemies, like giant rocks or throwing the axe into crystals to reflect into them. It makes things feel a bit more dynamic. And when it feels like you have more control over the situation, namely by keeping things in camera, fights can feel good from time to time. So it's not all bad. I mean, anytime you have to fight worms or floating bubbles, it sucks. But some of these fights are pretty good, and it's almost always the boss fights. The opening levels present you with multiple boss fights. The bear, Thor...
You know something I haven't noticed? I don't know if he's going to bring it up again, but or for the first time. He hasn't talked about the R2 ability with the axe, the one where you hold it. In 2018 was the cleave. I don't know what this one's called, I forgot. But it's one where he sticks the axe on the enemy and then throws him. Like, that gives you crowd control. And I'm surprised he hasn't complimented that, because that was really good. People say that they missed the cleave. I like this one a lot more because it gives you more gameplay options. I don't know. I would say it's even like my favorite move in the entire game. Maybe. I don't know. Any chance of playable Thori? Oh, Thor? Thor in the Muspelheim arena. Oh, shit. Oh, shit, dude. That would be cool, AK. Like, you play as Thor? They wouldn't do it. It's too much work. They would have to, like, make animation for a whole new character. It would have been... That would have been something they would have added in the older games as a bonus thing at the end of the game. But that would be cool, like, if you just get to play as Thor. And it's just like... I don't see how long you can survive. And then there's a leaderboard. That sounds cool, man. Like you just go there with Thor, just try to survive as long as you can. But I don't think they will do that. For the Game Plus, they'll give you a couple of armors and maybe a couple of new moves for enemies in harder difficulty, but that's about it. I'm not expecting much. I don't really get why he's even forcing himself to play the game if he just nitpicks everything. Well, it's more like being a YouTuber. Like, people expected him to do a review because he reviewed the first one, right? And, you know, from a YouTuber perspective, it made sense. He got almost 200,000 views out of it, right? And I mean, he does like the older God of War games, right? He's an old school fan. So I'm guessing the topic just interests him, right? Kuba, the companionship in this game should have been like Arkham Knights. The one where you can tag team with them. I think that's what you mean, right? No. Ragnarok should have had co-op mode where your friend can play as Mimir. Choosing the dialogue, choosing what he says. Alright.
The Huntress, which was pretty fun to fight, the Dreki, of which you fight multiple later. 2 enemies at once really is the maximum that this camera style can handle. The game delivers boss fights pretty steadily throughout the campaign and open world, and I honestly enjoyed nearly all of them. There are beefed up mini-bosses scattered around, and there's these great optional berserker boss fights that can be very challenging. Some of these guys took me a couple hours to take down, and it forced me to get good. It was the best part of the game. If I had one criticism for the boss fights, it's that I wish there were more puzzle elements involved. Having to use pieces of the environment or something like that. I always come back to God of War 1, where you had to stun the Hydras and then climb up to impale them so they stayed down while you went after the big guy up top. Stuff like that is fun and makes boss fights more than just block and attack encounters.
It's what set them apart from the MC, in my opinion. And I don't even blame 2018 for this. Like, they did away with this practice in God of War 2. I don't remember any puzzle elements in God of War 2 boss fights. Maybe the Sisters of Fate, where you have to, like, break the mirrors. Like, kind of like that. And I like that because it kind of makes it feel more like an adventure. It's not just an action game, right? It's not just about getting good, but it's about, like, thinking about the environment. And, yeah, I kind of miss that, too. But I don't know. Did I just agree with Mayo with what? The whole puzzle thing and then the boss fights? It's a good take. I mean, he does have his good takes. I only don't like how he's presenting his objective takes as it would be objective when a lot of them are his own personal issues. I think that's just his style. Like, he just gets really passionate. I've seen his Sifu review as well, and it's very similar. He loves the game, but when he doesn't like something, he doesn't make any bones about it, right? And I guess that's what I didn't like about his first review. He's gotten a lot better. He's a lot more fair in his reviews lately. But yeah, I guess it's just his style. I don't know. Mayo is 50% right, 30% skill. I don't know the songs.
Bosses have unique attacks that you have to adapt to, and one thing I love is that they made me think more about what runic attacks I wanted to use. See, in the last game, I complained about it giving me so many runic attacks when I can only use one for each runic slot, and none of it mattered anyway because the game was so broken. This time, due to much better combat balance and better enemy design, I was thoughtfully exploring my options to pick the right runic attack for the situation, something I really enjoyed. Sometimes a runic attack I like using would leave me too vulnerable in a fight, so I'd switch it out. So the problem was never that there were too many runic attacks in the last game, it's that there were so many while feeling like it didn't matter in the first place. This time, it does. And it feels good to have options, especially since it feels like I'm not breaking the game with any of them. The RPG elements have been toned down and slowed down in terms of how they're introduced. The whole green...
I don't know if he's going to talk about it, but one of the things I like the most about of Ragnarok is that it kept people like me in mind and just gave me the ability to just let the game give me the best armor right away. Like, I just press a button and it just automatically gives me all of that. Because, yeah, like, when it comes to reading all of this, I have an existential crisis whenever I have to do that. I'm like, no, I don't want to do any of this. But Ragnarok did give me the option of just automatically choosing for me, like, which was the best armor. There's a shark god called Dakwuka, or if I'm mispronouncing that, in Fijian mythology, and Kamboli and Polynesian mythology. Is there a difference between them? Carthaginian mythology? Is it like Roman and Greek mythology? Like they're kind of similar but different at the same time? Combat is 10 out of 10. I would give it 9. Because, yeah, it does have issues with the camera sometimes when there's too many enemies. But, yeah, I mean, 9 out of 10 combat might as well be a 10, you know. Honestly, under Mayo would be way better YouTuber if he showed more feet during his commentary. Maybe even a foot cam. You there you have it, Mayo. You gotta show your feet, man. That's what brings in the book.
Blue purple rarity system we see in every game today isn't plastered all over the armor page. So I'm actually looking at these different pieces instead of going directly to colors. Wonderful, now I don't have to think Fortnite while playing God of War. I can just hear people complaining already. Where's my epic purple axe handle, bro? The biggest change is the removal of enchantments. Sweet Lord in heaven, they actually took out the enchantments. 2018 buried you in like hundreds of these things that gave you little stat boosts, and it was exhausting. And you couldn't sell them, so they just sat there. They're gone now, because we don't need to be thinking about equipable enchantments as we're figuring out the armor system and the combat. Instead, what they've done is consolidated all these enchantments into an amulet that you find much later in the game. It has 9 slots, only one open at first, where you can put enchantments that you start finding. And as you play the game, you'll be able to repair more slots to have more enchantments equipped. And there aren't dozens of crappy +2 strength enchantments lying around, they all have significant clear uses. Introducing this later in the game instead of in the beginning is a fantastic change. It doesn't feel overwhelming, it feels like a natural extension of this game's progression, and I enjoyed working with it. Being able to equip 3 enchantments of the same type to get a bonus perk was also a very nice touch.
Here's a good example where Mayo liked something and I didn't. I didn't even use the thing. Yeah, it's true. Like the runes in 2018 were worse, but to me these ones were they weren't any better. I don't care. Maybe this is just a me problem. I cannot be bothered to read stats. I don't like that. To me it interrupts the flow of gameplay way too much. I think I put a couple of runes and forgot about that whole thing completely. But yeah. Have I tried Hogwarts? No, not yet. It's an open world game. I'll wait until it goes on sale or something. I'll be honest, I don't really have that much time to play video games these days. I only play Rocket League. That's the only thing. I'm getting really good at Rocket League. But like single player games and especially open world games, I don't really play that many these days. You can heavily customize your own playstyle, which is why I love it. Yeah, I'm not even suggesting they take it away. Like, cause I know like people like you at Nortex, like you like it, right? So it's something I can do without, right? I can just automatically choose which is the best armor, right? And I'll be happy. But if that makes your playthrough better, more power to you, man. I'm glad you like it.
The only addition I don't care for much is all the different companion upgrades. You're given so many ways to buff the arrow attacks that I found it confusing, and ultimately I just stopped engaging in it. You're given too many too fast that it starts to feel meaningless. The improvements to the inventory are appreciated. Now, whenever you open it, you are immediately notified of what can be upgraded or crafted, so you don't have to open everything individually searching for upgrade opportunities. Still, I don't like this armor system.
I found it more confusing. I think I'm in the minority here. Like, I found this whole menu confusing as crap.
Be notified of what can be
Oh, I see. Craftable,
upgraded or crafted. So you don't have to open everything individually searching for upgrade opportunities. Still, I don't like this armor system because it goes against every design principle that defined Kratos as a character. When they first started designing him for God of War 1, they started with a lot of armor, but eventually realized the more armor they took away, the more intense the character looked. Kratos is not a man that needs to be covered in armor. When he's stacked head to toe in cloth and metal like this, it hides the character design, and it's a real shame. That's why the most powerful moment in this game is when Kratos takes off his armor. He should look like this the whole game. I don't care how cold it is in Midgard. I mean, he's walking around like this in the beginning, why not keep it stripped down? I should be exploring this world as Kratos, and the more armor I have, I feel like I'm not. And I need some kind of motivation, because it's so easy to find yourself going on in this world, doing nothing due to how huge it is, and how many parts involve rowing your boat or climbing walls. And the map doesn't help things at all. I can't believe I never mentioned it in my first video, but this map is terrible. I know you're not going to have a GTA-style waypoint system that shows the path you need to take to your objective.
I honestly wish we did. Yeah, it kind of just seems like I'm just agreeing with him, but I think we can objectively say that this map is not good. It's just, like, I don't really know which ones are the walkable areas. How do you get here, for example? Is there like a door here? Like, I found myself lost multiple times. And it doesn't help that the climbing itself is scripted. Like, you can only climb on certain walls. Like, some walls that seem that you can climb, you can't. Like, you have to look for the ones with the markings on. And God of War Ragnarok became a lot bigger, so I ended up getting lost a lot more. The map is literally useless. It doesn't guide you. Yeah, it just, I think David Jaffe said that the map is a clusterfuck. It really is. Like, look at this thing. Like, things overlap with each other. Like, it's just arrows coming out of them. Like, what even is this? What is this? Can you walk here? It's not good. This and the whole running and stopping when changing your weapons. These are the things that they need to change fast.
But you at least need to allow me to zoom into the map to understand where I'm fucking going. What supervisor at Santa Monica looked at this map, saw how little it zooms in, and said, yeah, that's good, we don't need to go any further. It's like the designers don't want you to understand world traversal, and that makes the fast travel system much worse. Yeah, you still can't fast travel from any point. If you're out in the middle of nowhere and you need to get to another realm, you have to march your ass across the map to find a magic door, and then you can travel to another point in this realm or another realm. Yes, it's nice that we can use any gateway to go directly to other realms now, but why not go all the way? Why couldn't the dwarves just give Kratos a jewel that allows him to open a gateway wherever he is in the realm to start fast travel? I'll tell you why, because the developers are so in love with their own world they can't bear the thought of players not wandering around in it for the maximum amount of time possible. Coming back to the combat, runic attack cooldowns are harder to exploit, at least they are during the most important parts of the game. Mini-bosses and main bosses aren't massacred by just spamming constant runic attacks, and there are no broken companion abilities like the old Atreus electric arrows. You actually have to fight, from beginning to end, and it's beautiful. I rarely ever felt like I made it through a late game encounter by just screwing around, and I never beat a boss by just stunlocking them with supers and companion attacks. Ragnarok makes you play well, and I have immense respect for it because of that. I really like most of the new enemy designs, even if a few of them really screw with the camera. The new big guys are fun, it's great to see more animal-like enemies, and having an enemy that you have to hunt down and kill before you can damage anyone else is a fun way to mix things up. I appreciate the variations of old enemies that appear, seeing how travelers might have a back attack this time.
The game truly has like the most. It's very It has a wide variety of enemies. Like even more than God of War 3. It's because it's big, and it's cool that I don't know if he's gonna talk about this, but in certain areas you get certain enemies that you don't in other places. In the crater you get to fight this huge thing, and I don't even consider it a boss because you fight it like twice, but you only get it in the crater. So it gives you that sense of like this place is real. It's like no, you get these huge rhino-looking things only here, not in Helheim. Come on, don't be silly, right? Like, type of thing. I like that. And yeah, like, the travelers are nowhere to be found in the main campaign. At least I don't remember now. It's mostly the Einherjar captains, right? But you see them here. Those are cool details that I'd really like. The Drake, yeah, sorry, I forgot the name. I wish we got more travelers, not gonna lie. I mean, the travelers just look cool, and they're also, like, really fun to fight. But I think the travelers got evolved with the Einherjar captains. Those things are really fun to fight as well. Because these ones have something annoying. Like, the ones with the shield have this annoying move where they give their back to you, and then you can't do anything. Like, you're just stuck waiting for them to turn around. You didn't get that with the captains, right? But, I mean, they do look cool. Make map like GTA 5 waypoint. Yeah, I'm so tired of compasses in map. Like, I never got that. I think the reasoning is because it makes you explore more. It just makes me, I'm not gonna say it, I'm gonna get demonetized. It gives me an existential crisis. Let's go with that. Okay. I don't like it. I like Red Dead 2 style of map. I think honestly Hogwarts Legacy has a a regular mini-map. I really appreciate that. I hate the compass. I hate it so much. The creator area was done really well. It was really cool. Yeah, and that is one of the cases where if Eric Williams wasn't the director, it probably would not have been in it because it was based on his own experience. He went to Africa with his wife or something, right? And then he's like, we gotta do a part like this, and that's cool. Like, it looks different than all of Anaheim, and it's this area kind of feels like the castle flip in Castlevania Symphony of the Night, where you're like, all right, the game is done, you're just exploring. He's like, oh, let me just do the side mission, and bam, you're in this whole different what do you call it, biome? Like, biome? I don't know, like, environment, right? It's a desert-like thing with different enemies. It's just really cool, and you have to, like, open the floodgates for the water. It's very well designed. I like it.
Around, or maybe they'll swing their sword up after it gets stuck in the ground. I enjoyed every encounter with the hateful because it made me play well for so long. Everyone is suitably annoying and challenging and interesting in their own ways to make you feel good about finally killing them. Except the wisps, they can fuck off. Wandering around in frozen Midgard, the canyons, and the jungle was the best experience I had in Ragnarok. I'd do a side mission at my own pace, find some gear or a new attack, solve a puzzle, and then run over to a boss fight for an hour. Then go out searching for another crazy fight, of which there are many. It became exciting to see what kind of loot I'd get after defeating an optional boss, because while I'm not a fan of loot-based games and I criticized 2018 for being heavily loot-based, I can't deny that it feels good to find something nice after.
Bro, the dragons were so good. I forget what it was called, the Ashen one? I think there's one in the crater. I think it's called the Ashen one. That is one of my favorite fights in the entire game. I made a tweet about it because it's just so God of War. He just picks you up and then you're just lashing at his toes and he drops you off. And the dragons are kind of perfect for the spear because it just feels cool when they're flying up there and you're just like, and you're just aiming, you're just, and then you bring, dude, that's sick. That's just sick. Whoever came up with that idea, I love you. That's just a sick idea.
Winning a good fight. That's the difference here. The fights are actually good this time. 2018 felt like a series of unsatisfying and/or broken combat encounters where the only joy to be found came from the loot drops. In Ragnarok, the big fights themselves are incredibly satisfying, so the loot feels like a reward and not compensation. I spent my days just wandering around looking for optional boss fights, avoiding the campaign because I knew the moment I went back to it, something awful would be waiting for me.
That's why he had a better experience with the runic attacks. I didn't say anything when he was talking about it, but he said that he enjoyed the runic attacks a lot more. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird. I didn't feel like that. I felt like I never had any runic attacks, and that's because I didn't like exploring in this game, at least like during the main mission. Because story-wise, like Ragnarok is about to happen. What are we doing? What is Kratos doing? You know, doing errands for spirits and stuff. It just felt out of place, right? So I did all of my exploring after the game ended, and people criticize me for that. I have paid dearly for that. Have you tried going to rage mode and throwing a rock at the dragons in the air? I have not done that. That does sound cool. That sounds really cool. Spear is my favorite in this game. It's a perfect love letter to the Arms of Sparta. It's even better. I mean, yeah, it takes the Arms of Sparta. Even though I like Chains of Olympus and Ghosts of Sparta, they do have this weighty feel to them that just came with PSP games, because I'm guessing they just couldn't handle it as well as the PS2 or PlayStation 3. And as much as I like the Arms of Sparta, they do feel kind of slow sometimes. The Spear is not like that. The Spear feels really good to play with. Every game should have a boss face like Ragnarok. A boss face? What do you mean?
I'd finally shrug my shoulders and say, okay, I'll see what's next in the campaign. And surprise, surprise, is a bunch of cutscenes and a terrible section where Atreus is in a bar fight. A section that actually made my girlfriend say, is this a joke? Are they laughing at us? Okay, so let's stay with the combat a little more because I want to talk about an aspect of this game that has become very important to me, something I talk about on this channel all the time, and that's player accountability, creative incentive, and clear communication of a game's core systems. 3 things.
What does he mean by player accountability? I forgot what he's mean. I get it. I get when he talks about the incentives. Like, does the combat incentivize you? Is that a word? To do certain things. But what does it mean player accountability?
That are guaranteed to lead even your most stubborn player into the fun zone. And what is the fun zone of God of War Ragnarok? weapon variety, smart use of runic attacks and managing cooldowns, dodging and parrying, guard breaking,
Wait, is that what he's saying?
use of... And what is the fun zone of God of War
The fun zone,
Ragnarok?
okay.
Weapon variety, smart use of runic attacks and managing cooldowns, dodging and parrying, guard breaking, long distance targeting, and combos. Engaging in all this stuff is what makes the game fun, and not all your players are going to start engaging in it if they can just get away with random bullshit for most of the game. The big difference in my experience with 2018 going into Ragnarok is that I felt like the fun way to play was now the right way to play. Overall, combat just feels more interesting this time around. That's due to enemy balance, runic attack balance, new combat options, and I really came to like the different kinds of Spartan Rage. Choosing from the classic punch 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 to regain health, a quick burst of health without doing damage, or a charging heavy attack that gives health if it kills someone. And since combat is better tuned this time around, thinking about which one to have equipped was actually fun. Before I get into what I really liked...
I mean, I got the health one. I used it once and never bothered with it again. I really thought the health, all of the rage things were gonna play into the story. I think I've talked about this before, but it's when Atreus comes back from Ironwood, and suddenly you're playing as Kratos. Like, you now have Valor. I'm like, wait, what? What happened in the 2 days that Atreus was gone? Like, what exactly happened? And I thought that's where time travel was gonna play a role in it. You know, it's like, oh, now we're gonna go back and Atreus is gonna see what his father did, how he got Valor and all that. But it never played. It's just something he got, you know. Here's an idea that I hope SMS goes with it. Make Kratos be able to fight with both shield and spear, kind of like dual wielding thing. Oh, like in Ghost of Sparta, like you're just aiming and you just do that. I think there is a shield where you can walk faster. I'm forgetting. I think it's Shattered Star. I think it's something like that. You can walk faster, but yeah, you can't really poke. But look, I think what you're talking about more is like turning God of War into a really, really hardcore RPG where it gives you like a lot of customization in how you play. I've heard some people liking the idea of like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if you have the axe in one hand and then the spear in the other? I don't know. It could work, I guess. They might honestly just be able to revolutionize that whole idea of like customizing how you play, if they still keep the God of War combos intact and stuff like that. Because I don't want it to become Elden Ring. I just don't want it to become simplistic. It's like, like that's all you do, right? I still like the combos and all the bunch of moves you do, but I don't know if it'll get too confusing. I don't even know if it's possible. Aetherius Primordial, thank you, man. Thank you so much for becoming a Spartan. Welcome.
About the new combat presentation, I gotta mention something that was horribly disappointing. In the early game, I learned that if you finish a fight with very low health, you will recover some of it automatically. I thought, oh my god, they changed the health system, yes! See, I have a big problem with 2018's health system because you can play like crap in every fight and survive with barely any health, and then if you go into the next fight, you can just die right away and you restart that checkpoint with full health. It's not like there's a ranking system like Bayonetta that punishes you for your deaths, you can just abuse it. So there's really no health resource reward for good defense. I was hoping they would restructure the game to have your current health level saved with the checkpoint, and then you'd have to work harder to get health in the next fight, finding pickups, using rage to recover health, etc. It's also a problem for runic attack cooldowns because they reset too. Let's say you finish a fight by using all your runic attacks and then you go into the next fight and you have no runic attacks, so you gotta fight straight for a while. Well, just die and restart right there and get all your runic attacks back for free. It unfortunately leads you to being able to approach every fight the same way in the later game by opening big with runic attacks and then waiting for cooldown. It homogenizes combat encounters, and I'm really sad to see this hasn't been changed in Ragnarok. Seeing the small recharging health made me think they had done it, but they didn't. But I can't pretend they've done nothing. There's actually a fantastic reward for smart defense in the skill tree. If you land consistent hits while also avoiding damage, you build up elemental damage with your weapon, a feature from the last game. But now, when it maxes out, you can overcharge your weapon. Activating it stuns surrounding enemies, and then you unleash projectiles that do frost damage, like the old heavy runic attack from 2018 that was kinda busted, or you cause the blades to build up additional rage with every hit. I found myself excited whenever I got close to filling up the bar so I could power up and start wailing on the enemies, and I got pissed whenever someone hit me and I lost the charge before I could activate it. Good stuff. Fortunately, something that really helps is that you go quite a while without any heavy runic attacks, or at least I did. You're forced to legitimately play the game, being defensive, not relying on any kind of spam.
Okay,
and
so
once you do start getting a lot of runic attacks, the enemies become balanced to be able to take a lot of punishment. So even though you are able to exploit the checkpoint system by instantly spawning with full health and runic attacks, at least that doesn't equal an easy win in most cases.
The thing about the checkpoint thing was like, the example he gave, I don't know like how many people actually do that, like they just die on purpose so they get their health. Like you, at least me, like I go into every fight just wanting to win. Like it's just, I don't know, maybe it's because I'm better at the game, but I guess he's talking about when you die, like you get automatically like free health and runic attacks and stuff. No, more like I like bananas. Thanks, Godhand. Thank you for that. Now, more like you press a button and Kratos takes out his shield with his spear for a couple of attacks. Kind of like how Kratos can fight with his blades just in his hands. Oh, I see what you... Oh, I see. Oh, like, yeah, you hold on R1. What do you... With the spear, when you hold on R1, he just stabs it right and then you can pop it. I don't know, dude. This... I honestly would not touch anything about the spear in this game. I think it's perfect. Like, all of the... I talked about the siphon, but... I don't know how I didn't talk about its main ability, which is detonating spears. Like, that's such an awesome thing. And I don't know. The new God of War games keep surprising me on how well they keep doing side weapons, right? I really liked the blades in 2018, and I didn't think they would be able to surpass it with another side weapon. But they came up with an idea like, oh wow, this is really refreshing. I'm glad we didn't get the hammer. I don't care about that one bit. The spear is 20 times better. And I don't know. I'm excited to see what they do next mechanics-wise with another side weapon. Mike, how you doing, man? The base gear in Ragnarok is cooler than the base gear in 2018. What do you mean base gear? What does that mean? Like the one you start off with? Because that's what it means, right? Sorry, I don't speak RPG. Blade of Olympus, hope we get it back. I don't know about that, dude. I don't know if Atreus is going back to Greece. Actually, there was a friend of mine on Twitter, Abdul Rehman. I've covered his theories a few times before. He shared with me a really cool theory. I'm not gonna tell you here because I'm thinking of doing like a subscriber compilation theory, like the best theories from the communities, and I'm gonna include it there because the one he said was really interesting. I hope they bring back the original idea of the spear exploding and having shrapnel that gets stuck and shoot out in like its shotgun. Yeah, I think it was said in the IGN interview? Yeah, I remember him saying that. But I think the reason for why they took it out is because it became too chaotic. Like there was too many things on the arena. So I can see why they took it out.
Where it did in 2018. Okay, so what are the combat improvements? I already mentioned how the game starts you with more options. That's important for early experimentation in a game like this. A big change in the combat presentation is in enemy weaknesses. We are shown early in the skill tree that frozen enemies take extra damage from blade attacks. Cool, weapon variety incentive. This also applies to burning enemies taking more damage from the axe. We have an early game mini-boss in the Huntress that lets us stun her by throwing the axe at her horns, getting new players into the habit of long-distance axe throwing, and capitalizing on enemy stun states. Energy shield enemies can be disabled by using runic arrows, but you can also use charged elemental attacks, runic attacks, and shield bash. Hexed enemies take extra elemental damage, which encourages the use of your spinning blade attack or charging frost on your axe. Some enemies protect their health bar in ways that are weak to different elemental attacks. You're given an early game choice of shield type, going with a tanky shield for steady defense, or a rewarding parry focus shield with a great counterattack ability. These are amazing ways to get players into experimenting with the tools they may be ignoring. In a change that I absolutely love, there are now tiers of skill use, and when you hit gold tier, you can insert a coin into that skill to enhance one of its properties.
Look, I don't even like RPG, and I thought that was cool because it's simplistic enough where I can get behind it. It's like, okay, Scald means damage, this means stun, and this is element. Like, this is something I like, and it kind of gives the people who like RPGs this thing of, like, customizing it however you want. And in every playthrough I do, I kind of change it around. Like, this is something that the game forces me to do, but it doesn't hold the pacing back. Like, I like this inclusion. Like, if they were to just keep this and get rid of the armor system, I think I would be happy. Like, this is all the RPG I need. Like, this is it. Maybe, okay, honestly, you can add, like, 3 more things. How about that? Let's keep the RPG lovers happy, okay? You can add cooldown. I don't know how that would work, though. You can add more things, okay? But just keep it here. Something with a nice little picture so I don't have to read stats. You know, I can kind of just imagine, okay, this is going to give my weapon more damage or more stun. Like, it's something I can get behind. I sound like a kid who just doesn't want to read, which is true. I can't wait for New Game Plus. I wonder if we will get the cape. Santa Monica has heard everyone asking for it. I think they will. I think they'll give us the cape exactly because of that. Like, everybody has asked for it, and I think it's just going to be... I honestly think it's going to be a selling point. It's like, oh, you can now play with the cape, and hopefully they give us other armors as well. More original ones, because I didn't like the ones we got in 2018 Game Plus. They just... Nah, they were okay. Wait for the day when Kratos uses arcane and intelligence like Soul's game. I don't see that happening. I think that would be another shark jumping moment. I don't think he would ever use like arcane, like he's gonna get out a tome and start reading. That's not Kratos. That's not him. Agreed. RPG can be really good if done simply. Yeah, just give me little things. I honestly just I don't think. But you need to have them. You need to have them in this game because this game is open, right? So if you're gonna have to do exploration, you gotta give the players some rewards, and you're not gonna have like cool mechanics every single time. So what do? You end up giving them stats. You're like, oh, +2 damage again, but it just doesn't feel like a cool enough reward, and I don't like reading them. So it's this thing where like there's no winning. The only way to solve it is if they scale down the game and don't make it like this open, but. I think at this point it's too late. I think God of War fans are going to be mad if they suddenly make a scripted game like The Last of Us, for example, where, you know, when you finish one area, you move to the other one and goodbye. You can't play that other one again. I'm okay with that, but I don't think the majority of people would like that. Let's keep going.
Nice reward for using more than just the basic options available. So I like the changes to the skill tree, but I wish they didn't present the whole thing to you right away. It can be overwhelming, especially to a new player, to have 3 different categories, Axe, Blades, and Atreus, each with 3 different skill trees at the beginning of the game. I think you should be introduced to 1 set of skill trees each at first, and have the rest open up throughout the first hour.
No, because it's obvious. Like, once you do the Axe, you know, oh, down gives me the skill tree for the Blades. I didn't find that confusing. Did you guys find it confusing? I don't think you guys did, right? Yeah, I disagree with this too, AK. I'm like, it's common sense. Like, you open the menu, you just go to the Axe, like, oh, Blades. Like, it's very well explained. Like, it's self-explanatory. That's what I mean. This one was obvious. I don't know. This one was a bit of a nitpick, Mayo. Come on, man. I know this ain't gonna happen, but please give us the ability to take off armor. I just need to see Kratos' sexy abs. There you go. Luke is asking for it, man. The tutorial also showed you everything. I don't really remember the tutorial, but I didn't even see this as a problem. Like, oh yeah, this is where it's got multiple skill trees. It's the same as 2018, only a little bit more complex with these things, right? But that's about it.
And I want to say thank you for allowing us to disable skills. Sometimes the evade skills really mess me up because they come out when I don't want it, and turning them off helps me in some fights.
What?
Because they come out when I don't want it, and turning them off helps me in some fights.
Dude, the evade skills for me are like such an useful mechanic or combat thing. I don't know what you would call it. Because sometimes you can't really dodge, or sometimes you want to dodge but also make some damage, and then you just dodge, is it dodge? Yeah, you dodge and then you press R1 and it goes even back. Like it gives you more room to breathe. Like maybe disabling that was what messed him up. He said that. What did he say? That it
really mess me up because allowing us to disable skills. Sometimes the evade skills really mess me up because they come out when I don't want it, and turning them off helps me in some fights. All of this.
That wasn't a problem for me. Like I knew the moment I dodge, and if I press R1 immediately, like he's gonna do the splash attack or the axe throw thing. Like I found those skills like really useful.
It's balance,
The evade skills are the most useful. You don't like him either? Okay. Kuba, I hope you suggest this to Corey Barlog. People really think that I talk to Corey Barlog a lot. Like I mean, talk to Corey Barlog at all. I don't, guys. He's busy making games. I know in this generation people are really dying for clout and all that because they want to feel like they're part of the inner circle, right? I feel embarrassed if I were to message Corey Barlog because it's like I have nothing to say. Like he's busy making games. I'm not gonna bother him. He's a guy with a lot of things, a lot of responsibilities. Like what is he gonna do talking to me? But I mean, I shared videos on Twitter eventually, and I hope Santa Monica sees them sometimes because I think the criticisms are good. And they take that. They take all of those things into consideration. So I'm sure he's, like Mayo said, like Santa Monica definitely watches his videos because he is kind of infamous in the God of War community for being like the biggest hater of the new ones, right? So they definitely do see him. And yeah, Mayo kind of has that nitpicky script thing. I don't know what you would call it. Like his tone is kind of nitpicky sometimes, but that's his style. But if you really look into it, like a lot of his complaints come from a good place. He's given good criticism, right? When he talked about like the whole changing the weapon unintentionally, that's something good. That's something that I didn't even notice. But yeah, no, I mean they are the most useful. Like them. Oh, okay, so you agree with me? Okay, stop. We know that you and Kona have double dates with Corey and his wife all the time and talk about future God of War games. That's right. There's gonna be another Ironwood section. I try to talk him out of it, but I didn't pick up the check, and he's like, "Sorry, Kuba. There's another Ironwood section." So I'm sorry, everybody. I'm sorry to all 500 of you. And by the way, thank you to all of you watching, and thank you to all of my members for being here. That means a lot to me.
Combat options, clear weapon utility, mini boss weak points, skill tree rewards. It turned me, someone who found 2018's combat to be generally boring and busted, into someone having a great time occasionally. Because it was never about what you can or can't do. I know that people do crazy combos in 2018, but I felt like that game failed at getting me interested in caring about combos in the first place. Ragnarok succeeds. Ragnarok makes great attempts at getting players into fun and effective playstyles. Maybe a little too much. I approve of the tutorial prompts. There are a lot of important mechanics to introduce, but these things tend to repeat themselves, and eventually you'll want to turn tutorials to minimal. You don't have to tell me over and over in one fight that hexed enemies are weak to elemental attacks. I got it. I definitely appreciate the addition of the flashing blue attacks that can be stopped with a shield bash. I never used a shield bash in 2018, and this got me into using that attack much more, and now I really enjoy it. But it is very much a, hey, press this button now signal, which ends up feeling a bit dull after a while, and I think maybe there should be an option to disable it. Speaking of things that we should have the ability to disable, NPC hints. Your partner regularly yells at you, telling you to use your shield, telling you to parry an attack, stop standing still, attack an enemy at a certain time, and it's super annoying. I get it, you've got all kinds of players in this game. Yelling advice at them in the middle of combat can remind them of important things they should be doing. But for the love of God, let us disable it. You've got thousands of accessibility options in the menu, and you can't let us play without characters constantly telling us what to do? We've all seen this clip, haven't we?
Oh my God, shut off!
What?
The fight outside.
Hold on, guys. Give me a sec. Between who? The gas station?
No, in the car. Road rage. He got out and was like, yelling at the other guy.
You just got in his face?
Yeah, he got out of his car, went in like front of the other car, was like, "Fuck you! I'm gonna fucking run over your dog," or something like that. Like he was threatening him. No.
Yeah, Kanarihi was just telling me that there was a fight outside, more like a road rage thing. I'm like, wait, what? But yeah, what were we talking about? Oh, we were just watching this. Cuba's fighting, and then through the no, someone was fighting outside. I just went there to gossip about, oh, who's fighting, man? It's the Cuban in me. I need to know what's going on in my neighborhood, you know? Yeah, I actually agree. Ragnarok in 2018 is one of the only games that made me actually want to get super good at combat. Agree, Ragnarok in 2018. Yeah, he says that 2018 didn't do that for him. I liked it. I never felt like I was. I mean, maybe with the runic attacks a little bit. Like when it became too difficult, yeah, I did resolve to just unloading all of my runic attacks on that enemy and then just waiting for them to like reload, right? But the combat itself, I thought was really good. I used every tool in my shed. What is the saying goes? It doesn't matter. Like Draugrs, I love throwing the axe at their knees and just making them fall. Like he never talked about that. Like it does encourage you to do certain things, but he just didn't feel like that. I don't know. Sometimes I do think it's subjective. It's not really objective, right? But I don't know. Kona cussing is amazing. Did she say that? What did she say? Okay, I think I've read all. Yeah. Ragnarok and 2018 are nothing compared to the old games, in my opinion. They can never beat God of War 3 in combat. God of War 3 still holds like the trophy in combat. In that game, when you play it on a hard difficulty or give me God of War, it feels good. It just feels like a brawl. And Kratos gets covered in blood and like you feel really intense. You're like fucking grappling to them. It just feels really good. But what happens is that I'm kind of going to generalize all the people that didn't like old God of War games, and I'm going to call them Greg Miller, okay? It sounds like I hate Greg Miller. But I feel like what Greg Miller did is just played it on normal or just easy and then just breezed through it. And then the problem that Mayo talks about here happened to him, where it's like, okay, you played on a difficulty where you didn't force yourself to play good. So you just did what? You just press square, 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 right? But if you play it on harder difficulties, the game makes you do certain things. You're like, oh, now you feel engaged with it. Oh, the Minotaur is charging at you. Arrows. You have a lot of things you can do, right? Mayo's just simply not as good as Kuba. You tell him, Luke. You tell him. Make what? A tiers? Brutal like God of War 3? What is A tiers? I don't know.
You have its attention now. Don't lose it.
Oh, Atreus. Okay.
Don't just stand there. Move.
Oh my god! I will
I need to
legit
get to
mute the voices. Holy fuck, man.
That's it. Don't relent.
Oh fuck.
Parry that attack.
Oh my god. What is
See what
this?
I mean?
Yeah, that's pretty bad, but what's worse is the puzzle sections. Now, I'm on record for criticizing 2018's puzzles, and while I do think in Ragnarok they're still limited by the lack of platforming,
Vizari is no more. He is gone. It's quite sad. He isn't coming back for a long time. Like a few weeks ago, at least. I don't know if I should... Is this for real? I don't know what's going on. I guess he just changed his name. I remember a guy... Yeah, he had Vizar in his name or something. And I just called him Vizari, like the villain from Killzone 2. I guess he changed his name to the Hand of God. I legit died one time in game, and Freya, no joke, said to me, Kratos, I see something.
attempts have been made to make puzzles more interesting this time around, using the axe to freeze waterways and direct the water towards wheels to open doors, and the ability to string together runic arrows helps a lot of the puzzles feel like more than just throwing your axe at switches. So yeah, I praise the increase in puzzle variety, but my appreciation for these puzzles is frequently ruined by how often they appear.
I feel like these things should have been in the entire game. They shouldn't just have been limited to Alfheim. Out of all of the environmental combat system, this one was my favorite one. Like And Alfheim, I ended up using it a lot, and it's fun when they just put one on both ends and just it just goes bouncing back and forth. That was really cool, man. Hey, Kasmita 2008, what's up? They gave Kratos the Rick Ross. What the hell? Rick Ross. Rick Ross. I gotta see who this is. Oh, this guy? I mean, kinda, I guess. Yeah. Yeah, you're right, yeah. Oh, not this one. I can see that. Yeah. His beard is much more clean. This guy, not Kratos's. Man, that's a nice fade here. Like, I'm not wish. I mean, I just have to do it. But if I would keep up, you know, with my looks and stuff, like look would find me a lot more handsome. Is all I'm saying. You know, what are you gonna do? You know.
I like puzzles, okay? Survival horror is my favorite genre, and I love a puzzle that gets me thinking for 10 minutes about what to do. But not in every room, and not when none of them involve combat in an action game. Do people just not remember how much cool puzzle design was involved in the old games? The Minotaur boss wasn't just hitting him, you stunned him and made your way up to the launcher to impale him. There was a part where you had to protect a guy from killing himself while you were fending off monsters. You killed centaurs in a magic circle to unlock a door. You had to move a prisoner up a ramp for a sacrifice while enemies came at you. There was an elevator that...
I was gonna say that. I totally get what he's saying now. Like, see, like, I know I like the God of War games, but I've never been insightful enough to exactly know why sometimes. And that's a good point. Like, the older God of War games had combat puzzles, right? He's right. Like, this is not really very difficult to solve. All you have to do is just like press circle, circle, circle. But it's intense. Like, you have to know what you have to do. That sounds stupid. And yeah, when you're pulling the cage with the guy you're gonna burn, like that's a fun thing. It's an action combo, an action puzzle, and I wish like stuff like that would return.
would crush you if you didn't kill all the enemies in time. You did executions on sirens to use their voice to break open doors. God of War 3 had a cool section where zombies walk into a wall of energy and convert into large monsters.
Yeah.
So you have to keep them away from it while fighting the big guys.
Yeah.
This stuff makes the combat more than just strike and defend.
Yeah! Oh my god, he's so right about that, dude. He's absolutely right about that.
With combat-free puzzles in between. It creates a larger experience, despite it actually being a shorter and linear game. I think it would have been cool to see some kind of puzzle where you have to juggle an enemy over a certain area for a while, and maybe this enemy has to be burning, but it dies quickly. So you have to figure out a way to get it burning with your spinning blade and then launch it and keep it in the air burning before it dies to open a door. Some kind of puzzle that actually teaches combat skills, not just stopping everything to be in a quiet...
That needs to be in the next game. That is a really good idea. That puzzle he just gave as an example, that sounds cool.
Dies quickly, so you have to figure out a way to get it burning with your spinning blade and then launch it and keep it in the air burning before it dies to open a door. Some kind of puzzle that actually teaches combat skills, not just stopping everything to be in a quiet room for several minutes figuring out where to throw your axe.
That is cool.
Without combat in any puzzle room.
I don't think that could work with the camera and playstyle. What, the puzzle example he just gave? I think it could work. You have to know what you have to do. Kuba 2023. Hey, I have my Cubanisms, please leave me alone. Fine, I'm going to sleep in a moment because in Poland we have 11 p.m. and I'm going to school tomorrow. And you? I don't have to go to school, but yeah, you go to sleep. And thank you so much for showing up. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I don't know what another text is talking about. I think
the game turns into a slog. God of War Ragnarok has a pacing problem. As I stated before, large amounts of the campaign and some side missions have you fighting a small group of enemies, 2 if you're lucky, and then solving a puzzle in the middle of a bunch of walking, talking, and cutscenes. Alfheim is particularly bad about this, with constant rooms asking you to throw your axe at crystals to open doors. Imagine if instead of all these puzzles, they'd spent more time and resources on better designed combat spaces and some actual vertical combat options. They seem more interested in presenting traversal puzzles to the player than interesting combat scenarios, and the result is that puzzles that should be making me happy because they're well designed are having the opposite effect. I just want to experience the combat some more, but there's a locked door in my way and I gotta spend several minutes trying to figure it out. And right before I do actually figure it out, a character just blurts out the solution, completely unwarranted.
I think my arrows will stick to the wood up there.
Nothing ruins a puzzle like being told the solution right as you're about to get it yourself. Other games have done this way better. I think it was Uncharted where if you need a hint, you could press square and your friend would direct your attention to something. It would be great if they could rework it to be like that, because knowing the puzzles are going to be spoiled for me definitely lessens my drive to want to replay this game.
Bunk.
As if I would ever replay Ragnarok. I played 2018 once when it came out, and then 3 more times preparing for my original video. I played it twice on hard, once on extreme, and again on extreme New Game Plus, which is admittedly a much better experience. My plan going into Ragnarok was to play it on the Give Me No Mercy difficulty and then extreme, Give Me God of War. I wanted to get 2 solid playthroughs under my belt for this video, maybe 100%ing one of those playthroughs. But after suffering through so many unskippable cutscenes which last hours, boring as hell tasks where characters ask you to go fetch rocks for them so they can fix machines, and especially the god-awful Atreus levels which also take up hours, I refuse to play this game again. And it's sad because I would really like to just go around fighting all the bosses again, but not if it means I have to go through all that crap. A New Game Plus mode will not help this much because even if it lets us skip cutscenes, there's still hours and hours of walkie-talkie climbing nonsense and unbearable Atreus levels.
I think Cesti has said this, that in games where you have multiple characters where you play as, they need to give you the option to choose chapters. And I kind of agree with him because it's true. Like, Atreus has some redeemable qualities, but his sections are truly, like, the pacing just comes... It just tops, man. Like it just comes to a screeching halt, and I do wish I could skip him on multiple playthroughs, you know. Yo, Kuba, on April 1st, make your name Captain Cubicle and make your profile picture a toilet cubicle. It would be funny. I don't know about that, but I'll think about something for April Fools, man. I'll think about something. Yeah. Kuba's going to RPG menu school to learn how to use. What are you talking about? I don't even want to go to that school. You crazy? Can't believe the cinematic game doesn't let you skip the cinematic stuff. I mean, yeah, because that's kind of where the focus is on these games. The focus is on the story, right? But yeah, I think in 2018 you could skip it on Game Plus. Yeah, and this one I'm sure you will too. But he's right. Like all of these, I won't be able to skip this section. Jesus, man.
You think New Game Plus is going to come with an option to skip the Atreus levels? I don't think so. Maybe if I liked the story more, I could tolerate it. But Atreus is simply too much for me. I came to like the other characters. Brock and Sindri had some interesting developments. It was very sad to lose Brock and see Sindri become consumed by hate.
Boy, he sure is milking these last 10 minutes. You know what? I'm going to talk about your comment for 10 more minutes. I'm sorry, okay? I like to talk. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna read all the comments now. Imagine if it had something like a chapter select, it could even work. Yeah, it really could. I don't know if they're gonna add it though.
And ultimately be the one to kill Odin, it was actually a compelling part of the story. The epilogue scene saying goodbye to Brock was moving. Freya dealing with her trauma of being married to Odin was good to learn about. I became interested in Freya's forgiveness of Kratos, and it was wonderful to see them become partners.
Too fast.
Actually, the parts playing with Freya are way better than the ones with Atreus.
Disagree. Exactly because it felt too rushed. Like I don't see them like working together this time. It was too fast. I much rather have the Atreus parts than the Freya ones. That's my take. I don't know what do you guys think? Do you guys like the Atreus as a companion or Freya as a companion? What do you guys think?
He feels like a much more natural companion. The drama in Thor's family was interesting to me. Really, anything involving anyone other than Atreus, I found myself enjoying. But Kratos' part in all this, it's still very underwhelming to me. In most of the story, he's relegated to a Mad Max role, where he's not actually the main character in his movies. It's about the people he meets. And that's not a bad way to tell a story, but Kratos is such an interesting character that we've come to love and want to engage with more. I'm really disappointed to see him take a back seat to most of the story. He has his moments, yeah, and ultimately his journey ends up being more entertaining as he eventually becomes leader of the army to attack Asgard. That's a great destination to reach. Kratos never saw himself leading an army again. But the journey itself to get there, I don't know. I'm just not into it. Like I said, this is the Atreus story. Atreus drives the plot. There's actually this great moment where after we find out Tyr isn't who we thought he was, and Brock dies, Kratos and Atreus just leave. They're like, we're out, no more of this. And then you go back to your homeland and go hunting like everything is fine. I love this moment, and I wish there was a secret ending achievement somehow, where you just choose to never go back and let the world burn. Missed opportunity.
Yeah,
Like the
but I mean, multiple endings is not something God of War is known for. I wouldn't have liked that. I mean, it sounds cool on paper, but it's just... Which ending would be canon then? Like, I don't know how people who like Mass Effect deal with that problem, though. Which is the canon ending? How does that work? I wouldn't have chosen to stay there. I would not have chosen that. I like Freya, but I could be biased. Yeah, I know Luke. I'm not even gonna finish that. Okay, I know it's something. Yeah, feet. I see the word feet there. Yeah, I actually I was playing the post game yesterday to get some pictures for the next video, and I took a couple of pictures of Freya just for you, like in some poses. I'm gonna share them with you on Discord if you want to. I don't know why I'm feeding you. I don't know why I'm feeding this behavior, but I thought it was funny, but yeah. Mayo instantly gets mad when he sees a teenager on the street.
Last game, the best moments for Kratos is when he's doing something that reminds him of his much more interesting adventures from the other games. He talks to Mimir about his brother Deimos, and when he's forced to strangle Heimdall to death, hearing him say monster as his final word, his eyes turning black, is a powerful moment because it brings us back to the person Kratos is on the inside. That darkness that he's trying
Something cool, I don't know if you guys, I think I've talked about this before. I'm sorry, Kanruki, if you're watching, I'm sorry. To her, just I'm milking this. But his arm, his Bifrost arm just fades away as he dies. Look at his hand, and he just slowly fades away.
Forced to strangle Heimdall to death, hearing him say monster as his final word, his eyes turning black, is a powerful moment because it brings us back to the person Kratos is on the inside. That darkness that he's trying his hardest to leave behind him. That's probably the most effective moment in the whole game.
I have been falling back into my old ways.
Heimdall is a very God of War 3 style boss. Super arrogant, teasing Kratos, pushing him to the limits of his patience, and near the end of the fight, when you think you've won, Kratos rushes in, and that old God of War fan in me was screaming for him to just rip his head off. That's what I wanted. I got really excited. That's the darkness of the old Kratos that's inside me. But he only impales his arm, pinning him to the wall, giving him a chance to surrender. The adrenaline was pumping through me, and I sat there anxiously waiting to see what would happen next. I tried to calm myself, as Kratos was, resisting the urge to kill him. I was trying to take the higher path with Kratos. When Heimdall refuses to yield, threatening Atreus, Kratos rips his arm off. A brutal punishment for disobedience, but still not murder. He's doing whatever he can to refrain from killing another god. But when Heimdall comes at him again, Kratos understands that there is no other option, suffocating the life out of Heimdall, giving him some kind of victory by revealing to him the Kratos that he was and probably always will be deep down. This is great stuff. A game centered around these themes would make me very happy. Sadly, most of the game's story is centered around our unlikable son that fucks everything up and all the side characters, eventually ending with us waging war on Asgard to save the realms, and it's all just kinda okay. It's a noble cause, but it wasn't very exciting by this point. The fights in Asgard to get to the end are pretty unremarkable, and I think I was just getting tired of the combat by that point, so there's that too. The Odin and Thor boss fights are genuinely fun, but they're spoiled by one too many checkpoints. And as we know, checkpoints spawn you with full resources, so you can empty 6 runic attacks into them right away when you load a checkpoint. It makes the fights less interesting and challenging than they could have been. The best part
I don't know if people would go. I mean, I kind of would like that because in boss fights, yeah, like for me, I like it if they would start. I noticed this issue not with the Thor and Odin fight. I noticed it a lot with the two Valkyries because it's a genuinely really good boss fight, but it has like 3 sections, and I would beat one section, die on another one, and then just start from the second one. Like, the game needs to punish me. My wife says I'm masochistic in games, especially. Because I like games to be tough on me sometimes, and maybe, I don't know. It's confirmed Kratos is a better person than Mayo. Who said that? Sure, yeah, I'll go with that, sure. Did you notice how Kratos' eyebrows get arched when he's angry, more like he looks in God of War 3? Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, I saw that.
Part of the final chapter is seeing Kratos become the general. Seeing everyone refer to him as their leader is a moving scene, because Kratos never saw himself taking this position again, and now the whole world is depending on him for their survival, instead of him being on a mission that destroys the world like he was in God of War 3. It's great character development. It's why I ultimately like this game's story a little more than 2018's, because despite all the terrible focus on Atreus, by the end, Kratos is in a very interesting place, and I like that. He says goodbye to his son in a scene that is incredibly touching. It almost brought a tear to my eye. So where does that leave us? The story of Ragnarok is over. It's a huge game. It was enough story for 2 games, but they wanted to wrap it all up in this one giant adventure. Was it too much? I don't know. I'm not used to having to play a game for a week to complete it, so I'm tempted to say yes. But I also did a lot of side content, spent hours in optional boss fights, and I intentionally put off finishing the campaign because of the Atreus levels. So maybe it's not too much. It probably depends on how you experience it. Personally, I feel like the ability to go on side missions detracts from the urgency of the plot. Odin is this great threat that we need to assemble an army to stop, and Kratos is upset about his son disappearing, but hey, why don't you relax for a bit and go run errands for ghosts? It's so weird.
That's what I mean.
And I guess it also speaks to my preference for linear action games. I always felt the momentum of the story in the original God of War games, because you're going in one direction. You never took 5 hours out of your day to go fart around in a desert on your mission to kill Ares or Zeus. I did feel good about raising the dam and restoring water to the canyons, though. That was a side mission that felt like it had purpose and a real effect on the world. If only this was a linear action game and that was just part of the story. Now that I've beaten the campaign, seen the epilogue, found most of the Asgardian wreckage, beaten 8 of the Berserker boss fights, including a few fights versus the camera, I think I'm done. The wreckage fights have been very underwhelming. I feel no drive to find new gear. The remaining side quests involve a lot of empty wandering around, and yeah, I may go look for a few more boss fights in my spare time, but honestly, I'm just getting tired of the navigation. I already mentioned it, but the inability to fast travel at any time is really hindering this experience for me. I got lost in a part of Vanaheim up here, and I decided to make my way back to a gateway because I couldn't find one up here. Maybe there is one here and I just didn't find it. I couldn't find my way to the undiscovered...
Dude, literally yesterday I was in Vanaheim in the post, because I'm going to be talking about Tyr in the next scene. Plot twist. And I needed to get to Freyr's camp, but there's not a way, there's not a gateway inside the camp itself. It's somewhere else, like nearby. And I swear to God, I'm not exactly sure how to get to the camp now. I looked at the map and it just doesn't make any sense to me. Hold on. What was I reading? Mayo's gonna absolutely love the next God of War game if it doesn't have Atreus. Well, he's gonna hate it because most likely it's going to be an Atreus game. I don't think Kratos is gonna be... I still think Kratos is going to be a protagonist, but I think they're going to focus on the Atreus game, or at least try out before, they move back to Kratos. It's mayonnaise person. It's the
area, so maybe it's up there. But because I didn't find one here, I had to run all the way back down the map, running in circles a couple times because I got turned around, and I spent like 10 minutes just running around in the jungle trying to get to a gateway. To do what? Go run around some more? That's when I officially soured on this game. It's so pretentious they expect me to be happy retreading these dead environments looking for treasure or something, unable to fast travel anywhere unless I make a 5-minute trek back. It's insulting. But at least it's over. There is no reason at all to replay this game, so I can be done with it. I can look back on my fond memories of boss fights when I actually said, wow, I love this, and the touching moments that happen in the story, the beautiful environments, and I can try my hardest to forget nearly everything else. God of War Ragnarok was the most complicated game I've ever played or talked about. It is better than 2018 in many ways. I'd say it's a better game overall. But the major flaws this game has in certain areas, combined with the incredibly bloated campaign story moments with unskippable walkie-talkie cutscenes and 5 hours of Atreus missions, are, in my opinion, unforgivable. The good stuff keeps me from saying it's a bad game. Hell, in the end I never even said the last game was bad. It just had a lot of bad stuff in it. This game isn't bad either. It's half really good and half really bad. The good stuff is better than it was in 2018, but the bad stuff is way worse. The incredible potential this game shows is brought down at nearly every turn, and that's what I call ruined. Thank you for watching this video. It's been an emotional ride. Let's hope the next God of War game goes in a different direction. I don't think I can take another one of these.
If there's another one, he's gonna play it. Of course he is. I was gonna say something before he said that. I forgot what I was gonna say. But yeah, I mean, like, it's just. Oh, I was gonna say, like, it shows like how people experience games differently. Like, Mayo, for the most part, just focuses on the combat, right? Like, his review was 90% the combat. Like, the story was only a little bit at the end and maybe a little bit at the beginning, right? But yeah, for me, it's more like the whole experience, right? And people have been, I don't know, people say that I've been really negative with this game, or that I became a God of War hater and all that. And it kind of hurts, because in a way, I feel really jealous of the people that enjoy the story. I really do. Because aside from God of War 3, I think this game has the best combat. And it's got such good bosses, such good enemies. But for me, it's just the pacing. It's such a long game. And the Atreus sections truly are lackluster. It's just that thing. It's just like the tone was off. It's just a couple of things. It's just, for me, just didn't click with me. But Mayo, like, he liked it more than 2018. I take 2018 with all of its problems over this one, because I was talking to Faror on Twitter the other day, and I liked how she finished the conversation with me, because we were talking about, you know, the issues with the story and all that, because she knows more about writing than I do. And how she ended it was, God of War 2018 was a great experience. God of War Ragnarok was a great game. And I'm like, I agree with that. God of War Ragnarok truly is a great game. Like, it's got so many cool things. The fucking crater itself should have been enough to nominate it for Game of the Year. It's such a good section, right? But it's just like as a whole, you know, I don't know. It makes me sad a little bit, because I'm like, I wish I could be with you guys, with a lot of you guys that just absolutely love the story. I'm like, I just don't. I don't know. But anyway, it has been fun, you guys. Thank you so much to all of my members, especially the new ones. Thank you so much for stopping by. Oh, Connor, you commented, the good stuff is better, but the bad stuff is worse than that's the perfect description of Ragnarok? What do you mean? What do you mean, honey? Honey? What do you mean?
It's what Mayo said. He said, in some ways it's similar to 2018, in which the good stuff is better, but the bad stuff is just worse.
Yeah, I mean,
Like, the bad stuff 2018 had, Ragnarok had it worse. But the good stuff 2018 had, like, Ragnarok improved on it.
I mean, in some cases, but yeah, they really did improve the combat a lot. Like, that was like the big focus, you know.
It suffered from the Captain America serum.
You want to come here and talk? The Captain American syndrome? What are you talking about?
I said it suffered from the super soldier serum. It made the good stuff better, and it made
Red Skull
worse.
badder. I'm gonna say badder. Yeah, I get what you say now. I have a feeling the game will grow on people. I think it will grow on me later on. Something I have noticed lately as an adult is that I didn't really experiment a lot when I was a teenager. I don't have a lot of experiences you guys had, and maybe I would have liked the Ironwood section a lot more if I had, you know, skipped out on my curfews if I was a little bit disobedient. But I was a good boy. I was just like, I'm gonna do what my dad says, you know. I don't want to get beat because I was born in the 90s. Sadly, that's, you know, what you have to deal with, right? But I didn't do any of that stuff. And I'm not a father yet. I can't really relate to the whole thing of learning to let go just
that
yet.
Sounds like I'm pregnant. I'm not pregnant. This isn't
What?
an announcement.
What are you talking about?
You said I'm not a father yet.
Well, yet,
That just sounded like it was a pregnancy announcement or something. Don't do that.
That wasn't... Did someone
Don't do
take
that.
it as an
sounded
announcement?
Like it was like saying I was pregnant. I'm not.
She is. No, I'm kidding.
Don't.
Your mom's gonna be watching this.
Yeah, because well, not only that, but like people will take it out of context and then like start actually thinking I am pregnant or something.
It's
like,
okay. We just get a bunch of gifts. So we don't have to tell anybody. And it's just... Anyway, what was I saying? I forgot.
Your dad didn't beat you, or your dad beat you.
No, I don't. Okay, I shouldn't have said beat me, but he did. He did use the belt a couple of times. Beat, it just sounds like he.
Child Protective Service
Yeah,
told us
beat. It just sounds like he put me up against the corner and just punched me to death, right? Well, not death. Obviously, I'm here, but yeah. Kuba's gonna be a father. Let's go. But no, but that's what I mean. Like, this game has a lot of heart, and maybe much like the original ending of God of War 2018. I think it was in Racing Kratos. He said that. Corey said that they had to switch the ending. I forgot what it was. Yeah. Okay. So the original ending of God of War 2018. Kratos kills Baldur, and then Freya gets mad. Yeah, Freya gets mad, right? But that ending wasn't clicking with people because they didn't have a way of connecting with it, right? So instead, what Corey and the writers did is had Atreus say, like, oh, why did she do that? And then Kratos explained, and then it was like, ah, that's why. Maybe I kind of need that. Maybe once I'm a dad, maybe once I'm, I don't know, I have more life experiences, I guess, I'll resonate more with the game. That's all I'm trying to say.
But you shouldn't have to need to be a dad in order
True.
to understand.
Yeah, I know
the
what you're
game.
saying, yeah. Kiba, you should do a Rising Kratos video reacting again. It's been a long time. Like, I think I wanted to do it before Ragnarok came out. I'll do it if you guys want. We can do it next Wednesday. Like, I want to do Wednesdays. I want to keep Wednesdays for member hangouts like these, okay? And I mean, yeah, I haven't watched Racing Kratos in a long time, so we can do that if you guys want to. Mike, I'm not even gonna read that. The comment is like blocked, but I'm not gonna read it. It's not bad. It's just like I don't want to read that out loud.
Nice.
You saw it?
Yeah.
No, she's a mod. She saw it. she approved it. So anyway, I'm just gonna go because I'm just gonna keep on rambling, and it really does seem like I'm stretching this live stream. How long have I been on this thing? Hold on.
3 hours.
Is it 3 hours? Two and a half. 2 hours and a half. Anyway, thank you so much to all of my awesome members and all of the new ones. I appreciate the support. You keep the lights on. Oh, look. Wait, what's that? No. Look, if you don't support me, the lights go off. Look at that. But that was dumb. But, yeah, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Next Wednesday, we'll do something else. I'll think about it by then. But, yeah, thank you guys to all of my members and almost 500 of you at one point were watching. Thank you to all of you guys. You don't have to become members, but, you know, thank you. And yeah, I don't know how to end these things. Go forth in the name of All Father Kratos. Bye. How do you do this?